Samuel Alito. Alito also wrote the majority opinion in today's final decision. Planned Parenthood now out with this blistering statement saying, quote, the Supreme Court has taken away our right to abortion and overturned Roe versus Wade, opening the floodgates for states across the country to ban abortion. The court has failed us all, but this is far from over. The news now generating immediate emotional reaction from both sides of the issue outside the Supreme Court building.
It feels like a betrayal. It feels like my country doesn't love me and appreciate my body as a woman. I can't even chant because I can't say anything. It hurts.
This is the first step in building a culture of life, and we want to support families, people who are in crisis pregnancies, especially low-income women and women in rural areas.
NBC Justice correspondent Pete Williams will join me in just a moment, but with me now is Joyce Vance, former U.S. attorney, Melissa Murray, NYU law professor. She's also a former law clerk to Judge Sonia Sotomayor in the dissenting minority in this case. Tali Farhadian-Weinstein is with us, former federal and state prosecutor in New York, and Tom Goldstein joins us from SCOTUS blog. He is an expert on all things Supreme Court. And Tom, we'll start with you. Walk us through the details of this ruling and what will be its immediate impact.
So the Supreme Court today overrules Roe versus Wade and says that the states have no obligation to allow abortion in any circumstance, except perhaps to save the life of the mother. So no rape, no incest, that it is up to the legislatures to decide this question. The court says, oh, don't think that this necessarily calls into question other decisions that we've had about privacy rights under the Constitution, like about contraception or same-sex marriage. We'll leave that for another day, but we are not threatening those today. But it is a full and complete and utter repudiation of any right under the Constitution to an abortion.
Joyce, more than a dozen states have so-called trigger laws put in place for this moment to put various stages of bans on abortion in place should Roe versus Wade be overturned. Talk to me about the legal reality on the ground in those states, like my home state of Texas, 30 million people now with 30 days until that trigger law goes into effect.
The legal reality on the ground is that clinics will shutter as much because of fear and uncertainty as because of the law. In many of these states with new trigger laws or old zombie laws that will come back to life from the pre-Roe era, there will be a huge amount of uncertainty about when and under what circumstances women can still get an abortion. In many cases, that right no longer exists, and it will be a crime to obtain one. In other states, abortion will still be available in some very limited circumstances, but because there will be so much uncertainty, there will be a further tamping down on women's willingness to obtain these services, on people around them, their willingness to help. Because at bottom, when you're facing the prospect of decades in prison because of obtaining what up until today was a fundamental right guaranteed to women, it's a moment where people pause and a moment where people recalibrate. And one of the most important long-term effects of a ruling like this is its ability to bring about societal change. Today, we see, for instance, the young woman on the steps of the Supreme Court outraged about the loss of her rights. The real problem here is whether there's a social trajectory here that begins to devalue women, devalue the rights of women to make their own decisions about their own body, because now the law of the land is that any state, any place can begin the process, and many of the states are scrambling right now to see what they need to do to bring these laws into practice. The last thing that I'll say is that, for instance, in Alabama, where we have old laws on the books, there is an active discussion underway about whether someone, the attorney general or some other litigant, needs to go into court to remove restrictions on those laws that were put in place when Roe versus Wade was passed. But those efforts in the courts will be fast. I don't know that the courts will rule quickly, but I suspect that in states like Alabama, we can expect to see prompt rulings.
Sure.
The Supreme Court has set the process in motion. The states will complete it.
There's another one of those zombie laws in Michigan that's got a lot of attention that we'll probably discuss a little bit later. We'll be looking at live pictures from out in front of the Supreme Court. I want to bring in Ken Delanian, who joins us now from outside the court. Ken, there have been warnings about the possibilities of political violence when these decisions come down. The fact that we knew a lot of what was going to be in this decision, or we thought we knew based on that leaked draft opinion, doesn't appear to have dampened the shock at all outside the court, really on both sides of this issue. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing out there. What is the mood on the steps of the court this morning?
I think you're exactly right, Garrett. You know, there have been demonstrators from both sides of this issue coming here.
Okay, I'm going to turn this down for just a minute. Hey, everybody. I've turned off the monetization so I can keep the... so I can we can watch the news together. I imagine I'm going to be on for quite a while. It's kind of dark right here just because there's too much sun this early in the morning. So I just pulled some cards on what we're looking at, what is likely to happen, that sort of thing, and where we are. The card for the reading has to do with the happy family, because this has huge implications. And what I've got here is for the reading where we are, what's going on. I've got a Knight of Swords, so this is aggressive. Well, this is aggressive laws, aggressive law enforcement. This is 10 of Pentacles. This is a dynasty card. Eight of Cups. This is, I'm sorry. I haven't had any coffee. I haven't had any breakfast. I got caught up working overlays and covers and stuff, and I put myself last, so I haven't done anything for myself other than put some makeup on and wash my face, put some makeup on, change my shirt, brush my hair. 8 of Cups. This has to do with walking away from the women who need help. This is a far-right victory. However, this is Biden. This is the Democrats. This feels like Biden's going to do something. I don't know what he could do. Sarah, call your timestamps, please. I will. I'm so sorry. Sarah's agreed to help me as it's going to be kind of chaotic. Sorry about that. The state's legislature or the governor issues a proclamation, and then abortion is immediately illegal in the state. I don't know when this last one was. I'm sorry. I'll go back and fix it later. So anyway, this is just abhorrent. All this is abhorrent. But this is also minor arcana. And I've been saying for a while, since we first saw the draft ruling, that this is going to be awful for a year or two. But this will not stand. This will not continue. It's going to, yes, this is going to have massive consequences. But one of those massive consequences is people are going to vote, and they are going to vote blue, and blue voters are going to come out of the woodwork. Such a conservative state, and because, Garrett, as you know, so the State House, the governor, the Attorney General, all Republican. Yeah. So there was no stopping what was to come today, which again was this proclamation that followed the decision. Tiffany Lily's asking, was it the draft ruling that came out? All I've heard is that by and large it was similar. It was. Yeah. 5 to 15 years in prison. So 5 to 15 years in prison in Alabama.
Very conservative legislature there, and if you live in Western Missouri, if you're in a place like Kansas City, the geography now becomes a factor. That becomes a question when you start talking about abortion access. If
okay. In Kansas City, I actually, as soon as I heard about the draft ruling, I have 3 of these.
Running around trying to gather reaction here, Ali. Again, this decision not a surprise to lawmakers, Democrats in particular.
Someone asked what's the hat for? It has to do with women's rights. And I got this one, and I got this one. So I have like color options because this is not going to be over quickly.
Here in reaction to this ruling today.
So anyway.
Garrett, you point out that this is not a surprise in terms of the substance.
All right. I'm going to do an we'll listen to the news. I'll turn it back up while I'm going to put out an overloaded Celtic. I'm also going to go turn turn the coffee pot on because I really could use some coffee. So.
Women just continue to remind that this is going to be something.
I'm going to mute myself. You can listen to the. Well, I don't need to mute myself. Let me just turn this back up.
Had their own abortions in a time pre the protections of Roe, and they talked about the fact that they just felt lucky that they survived that experience because of how unsafe it was. There's also the conversation that Speaker Pelosi is having right now. As she did her press conference, she made the important point. She said, it's not about she said, it's not just about abortion. It's about contraception. It's about IVF. This is about miscarriages. There are wide-ranging medical decisions that stem from the protections that were in Roe, that were in Casey, that are frankly in the Griswold decision that's also now called into question here. So a lot of these lawmakers making that point. I do think that the other piece of this that's important is the way that this Supreme Court came together in and of itself. You have people like Joe Manchin, Susan Collins, people who were key votes to confirm some of these conservative justices now coming out and saying in their statements that they trusted the things that these justices said, like Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, when they said in their confirmation hearings that they believed that Roe was settled precedent, that it was super precedent, effectively saying that they wouldn't touch it. And of course, now we see based on who was on this decision that they did in fact touch it and overturn the entire thing. That's something that we're hearing from senators this morning. And so a few different prongs to this, but I can tell you among the lawmakers on the Democratic side that I've spoken to, a lot of rage and a lot of pushing towards November as they say, this is a ballot box issue now.
Allie, I want to dig into that a little bit more. I mean, I think we're so lucky to have your expertise on this. I mean, you've literally written a book about women and politics and how, particularly the salience of this issue. We have a generation of women on Capitol Hill, especially in the House, who have only served and really only, in many cases, only lived in a post-Roe country. How do you see this issue being adapted to the midterm politics? I mean, I'm not the one making this political. This was in Speaker Pelosi's statement and Chuck Schumer's statement right out of the gate saying this is a question that will go to voters. We saw it in 2018, a battle for the suburbs, a battle for the moms of America. How do you see the salience of this issue moving up in the decision-making tree, if you will, for voters, and for how Democrats trying desperately to hold on to that House majority are going to approach those voters as we get towards the fall?
I think that this is such an untested issue because you and I cover campaigns when we're not in this building, and we know how galvanizing the idea of reproductive rights can be on both sides of this issue. And so I think now that Democratic women especially are faced with the reality that this is something that has been taken away from them, they are going to vote. And we're watching it in polling, how this went from being an issue that was not on anybody's radar because it's been settled precedent for 49 years. Now we've watched, even in the instance between when the draft decision was leaked up to now, 16-point jumps in our NBC News poll in terms of how this became a priority. I think that is key. And then the other thing you point out here is 2018 is actually a really great parallel for Democrats. Abortion is healthcare. Democrats were able to leverage healthcare as an issue in 2018 to do well in the suburbs and to do well in key House races. They were running good female candidates by and large, people who were good fits for their district. But at the same time, it was women who were able to go in and represent the interests of those communities. And this is an issue that I think that female messengers you need their credibility right now in this moment. I think it's definitely a potential game changer for the midterms. But then, of course, you also have to look to the states. I think specifically of Michigan, and I know that that's something that your panel was speaking about. They have that zombie law there. Gretchen Whitmer is someone who is up for re-election for her governor's seat. She's filed court cases. She's one of the most proactive governors on this issue. I was on the phone with her the other day talking about the steps that she's taken. She's trying in her state to at least create a little bit of momentum behind protecting abortion care. But I think the really important thing here is that when the House failed to pass the Women's Health Protection Act, that was kind of it. I mean, we've seen, and I've reported on the fact that they want Biden to take some executive actions. There are things that they can do that kind of nibble around the edges. But in terms of a wide-scale protection, the court rolled back those protections. They took away those rights today, and Congress is pretty hamstrung, and the federal government is pretty hamstrung in terms of being able to bring any semblance of that back.
You mentioned Michigan. I'll mention another state, Pennsylvania. You've got a governor's race there where the Republican nominee in Pennsylvania has said he would be in favor of banning abortion access outright in Pennsylvania. It's going to be a very salient issue on the ballot there as well. I want to get back to our panel here. Tally, let's talk about states. Let's back up a little bit. This decision removes federal protections for abortion rights. It gets rid of Roe. But for states where abortion rights are legal, there's nothing in this immediate decision that affects those laws. So when we're talking about a state like New York, you're talking about now all of a sudden you're going to have a restriction on supply, if you will, for abortion access, but not a restriction on demand. What happens in a state like New York where abortion will remain legal and where you're going to see perhaps this uptick in demand from women around the country?
Well, that's right. And our governor, Governor Hochul, has already been preparing for this moment in understanding that New York and states like it are receiving states that women of means or those who can find support might be able to come here. And we have been working in New York on expanding, but this is not really a solution, of course, to what is an enormous national problem. And I think it's really important to say, as we look out at the landscape of what's going to go on around the country, that, you know, in this moment, we find ourselves with 26 states on the other side. But those trigger and ghost laws were written under the shadow of Roe v. Wade, and in some ways quite strategic, trying to sort of guess at how far the Supreme Court might let them go. And now the answer is that states and also the federal government can go as far as they want to in banning abortion completely, no matter how young the pregnant girl or woman, from the moment of fertilization, without any exceptions for rape and incest. So as bad as the situation is in this moment, I think that we can expect that the law will shift. And there is even conversation about, could it be a goal for the anti-choice movement to have a federal ban on abortion that is as absolute as what this opinion now allows?
I want to bring in Josh Letterman, who is with us from the White House. Josh, we know that the White House also expected this ruling at some point. They got it today. What are we expecting to see in terms of response from the president?
Well, Garrett, we have not heard a response yet from the White House or the president, but we have just learned that President Biden will speak. He will deliver remarks on camera at 12:30 p.m. on the Supreme Court's ruling in this case. The president will speak from the Cross Hall, according to the White House, which is a location within the White House residence where you've often seen the president give addresses to the nation. And we've seen some activity here at the White House in the last half an hour as chairs were being removed from the West Wing. Clearly, a lot of officials trying to figure out exactly what the president is going to say, even though, as you point out, they have had a lot of time to prepare for this. In fact, preparations for the eventuality or the possibility of a ruling like this started, we are told, even before that draft ruling leaked weeks ago. There are really three buckets of areas where the White House is going to be looking to address the ramifications of this ruling today. One is, of course, the ramifications for abortion for women in states across the country, with the president looking for what executive action he can take to try to help there. But there's not going to be a panacea. There is no executive order that President Biden can sign that will restore a constitutional right that the Supreme Court has just taken away. And so instead, the White House counsel's office, the White House Gender Council, the Domestic Policy Council have been looking for weeks at whether there are actions that some of the federal agencies can take to try to ensure some protections. For example, whether the Justice Department can ensure the ability for women to cross from one state to another in search of access to abortion, whether the FDA can ease some of the remaining restrictions on medication abortion, abortion pills, on how they are distributed by pharmacies in various places to make sure that is more of an option to women in the wake of this decision. Now, secondly, I think there's some concern at the White House right now about whether we are going to see unrest, not necessarily what we see right now outside the Supreme Court, which so far has been quite peaceful, but whether there is the possibility, given the strong feelings on this issue across the country, that we could see civil unrest in various cities. That is something that the White House will be working with law enforcement authorities to make sure they are prepared for the possibility of that happening. Of course, the security for the Supreme Court justices also top of mind as the administration recently stepped up the security that is offered to them. We will be looking to see whether even more security steps will be taken now that this ruling is out. And then the third bucket is really the political, what you and Ali Vitale were just speaking about. The White House very aware that the only thing that can really be done to restore this right is for Congress to act. That will require far more Democrats in the Senate than are currently there. And so that is going to be a major political argument you will hear President Biden making as he is on the campaign trail this fall, campaigning for Democrats across the country who are running in the midterm elections. And we should expect to get a preview of the way that President Biden will be framing that argument and the need to elect lawmakers who will restore the right to abortion for women when President Biden delivers those remarks in just about an hour from here at the White House, Garrett.
Josh Letterman at the White House. Thank you, Josh. Whatever else you get, bring it back to us, and we'll look for the president at 12:30. I want to bring in now someone who knows this president quite well, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Senator, first, again, this ruling was not really a surprise, but yet here we are again, and I don't find it, at least folks I've been talking to don't find it any less shocking to read it today, knowing that it was probably going to happen. What was your
struck down a 50-year established liberty, a right of freedom, and has changed the lives of tens of millions of American women.
Had some issues
and will
going.
Make even more unequal access to reproductive health care. Look, in blue states like mine, this right will continue, and women will continue to have the freedom to choose how and when they will have a family. But in roughly half the states, abortion will be criminalized either immediately, it's already happened in a number of states, announcements have been made, or in the coming weeks as they implement laws now on the books. And I'm left wondering what else is next with this activist conservative majority. What other well-established, long-standing rights to privacy, to freedom are at risk? This is a day I will never forget, where I was when I heard this Dobbs decision came down. It's hundreds of pages. I have not read through it yet, but my understanding from my chief counsel is that the concurrence by Justice Thomas points the way to even more grave consequences, even broader ambitions by this activist conservative majority. So this is a very hard day, and I think this will drive our country further apart. It will make even harder the lives of women whose ability to make their own choices, to decide for themselves their future and their family will be even harder after this decision.
Senator, I did get a moment to skim through the concurrences, both of Justice Thomas and Justice Kavanaugh. They're both interesting for different reasons, but I want to go back to what you were saying about Justice Thomas's concurrence, where he does seem to open the door here. If you get rid of Roe, and if you get rid of Casey, which this decision does, you essentially get rid of this fundamental right to privacy, which they say is not in the Constitution. I think we can establish that in a 50-50 Senate, you are probably not going to be able to pass something that can reestablish the protections in Roe. But is it possible, will we see the Senate potentially act to to perhaps make sure this court or a conservative majority court of the future can go no further to roll back some of those rights that were built upon the precedents established there in Roe and in Casey?
Look, the reason I voted against Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Barrett, Justice Gorsuch in their confirmation hearings in front of the Senate was I was gravely concerned about whether they would in fact respect these long settled precedents, Roe and Casey, and the underpinnings on which they rest, a right to privacy, something that is as old as I am, and that has been the foundation on which a whole bunch of other things, access to contraception, marriage equality, many other things rest. And as I raised in the confirmation hearings for these justices, I'm also concerned about their ambition to knock out the underpinnings of the administrative state, the ability of the federal government to provide for clean air and clean water, for safe baby formula, and for access to safe food and safe working spaces. So we don't know the trajectory here, but millions and millions of American women today know that they don't enjoy the same freedoms and rights that their mothers did decades ago. And if this court takes us back to where we were in the 1920s and before, in terms of the ability of the federal government to provide for privacy and protection and liberty, we could be in a very different country in a short order. That's why this issue is on the ballot this fall. That's why state and local elections and federal elections matter more than ever before. Garrett, just last night, just over 12 hours ago, we passed a bipartisan gun safety and mental health bill. I went to bed last night.
I'm feeling drawn to read on what will Biden do? What can he do? Which is going to be extremely limited. But I'm going to pull cards on that, and then I'll mention what time I'm reading on it when I give you the answer. Okay.
About making certain that Americans can carry guns anywhere and anytime they want than it is about protecting long established freedoms.
I'm glad you mentioned state elections. The decision goes to great pains to talk about this being a question for the states to answer, and the representatives of the people at the state level. It seems like that is where the rubber meets the road in terms of real action on this issue going forward. Senator, I also want to ask you, you're on the Judiciary Committee. I covered the Kavanaugh hearings with you. So much of the focus on the end of Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation was on his personal background. But beneath all of that was this discussion about his views on precedent, and his concurrence here is largely about defending what seems like a departure from what he told senators during his confirmation about the value he placed on established precedent, basically debating with himself, when to overrule precedent that you think is fundamentally wrong. My question is, do you think Brett Kavanaugh misled either yourself or the other senators who were very concerned about this, like a Susan Collins, about what he believed about precedent when it came particularly to the question of Roe?
Well, I'll let other senators speak for themselves, and I don't look forward to. I will read the concurrence and the opinion in this case before giving a fuller answer, but certainly my gut reaction is yes. I feel that the statements that were made in the confirmation hearings, at least of those three justices, about their respect for long-settled opinion, is sharply in contrast with this decision overturning such a central and long-established.
Okay, at 27:45, I was trying to read on what is Biden going to do next. And the answer I got was, it's not even close to, it's just so clear that this is the communication, the far right communication that just came out. That's there. But look at this. American women facing this heinous situation from a far right message. Well, they're going to feel really beaten up about that because this is women. This is America as a whole. This is American women are going to rise up. Absolutely rise up. So do not this is we're this is kind of where we are now. This is where we were. This is where we are now because of all this garbage. They're going to regret this. They're going to regret this. For the amount of power they're going to lose for a long time. As long as it's peaceful, a peaceful revolution, absolutely. Alexander Bellino saying, yes, we won't take this, period. Mary Thornberry saying, we will be the change. Yes. Beth A is saying revolution. Sherry H is saying it has nothing to do with saving children and everything to do with forcing women to do their will. Laura M says there are a lot of right-to-life women. Oh, there are. But there are more people who believe in the right to choose. And even a lot of some of the women who are, they would call themselves pro-life, there are states who are going to outlaw it for under every circumstance. Every circumstance, and even there are some people who call themselves pro-life who they're like no, not life of the mother, the R word, incest, or all that kind of stuff. No exceptions. There is still care available. No. Electra storm revolutions are never peaceful. There's blood when you fight for your rights. No, nay. I'm not. No, I'm against that. I'm just. This is not the channel for that. This is not the channel for violence. Zero. None. You don't have an appointment in Missouri, but get on the phones immediately and call Illinois and get an appointment. There was someone earlier on the news who was saying that even with blue states allowing this, 24 states cannot carry the health needs of all 50 states. And there's a point. Yes. Krista March is saying, I don't think they're truly pro-life. I don't think you're truly pro-life if you're pro-gun. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled that you could conceal carry guns in New York, and New York State couldn't stop you. They had laws in place to make it safer, and nope, gone. So more guns, more concealed weapons, more concealed guns. There was a really good question there. I'm sorry. Let me see. It was Sarah is doing yeoman's work today, grabbing all of the questions out of the chat. Glenna Miles, hello, sweetheart. Hello, boo boo. Okay. It's like, are you upset? And as we're sitting in there, the announcement was made. As we're talking, we're sitting with the secretary. That announcement was made. Okay, so this is more what will happen. Broke my heart. Because I'm thinking about and let's move Glenna's question up. Who found out they were pregnant a few weeks ago, and we're trying to figure out what to do. People, it takes more than a minute to make a decision about what you're going to do. Okay, I'm going to hit save right now in the description box. All right, so Glenna Miles was actually asking, since we were talking about sometimes it takes time, and we're stripping that from people. I didn't even find out I was pregnant. I don't even know if I knew I was pregnant at 6 weeks. And to say that, okay, to restrict people's right to their own body and their own decisions. At 33 minutes in, will women now flock to gun stores in self-defense? I mean, apparently now your gun laws, you can do whatever you want, apparently. Sarah's listening. Sarah's saying, wait, okay, sorry. Will women flock to gun
Cal,
stores?
Thank you very much for that reporting, and please thank the Congresswoman for us. She has spoken about her own personal experience in the past quite well and quite powerfully. I want to go back to Ken Delaney now, who's joining us again from outside the Supreme Court. Ken.
Garrett, I'm here with Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio, who's an important voice in the Democratic Party and whose position on the issue of
Nine of Swords.
To this decision today?
Absolute largest governmental overreach in the history of our lifetime. We're a country of expanding rights. Now
It's a lot of worry. It's a lot of fear. Hey, Lynott.
Government mandated pregnancy. I mean, if you're going to defer to the Ohio law, then the Ohio
Three
law
of
says if you get pregnant
Cups.
incest, you must bring that baby to term.
Three of Wands. Three of Pentacles. King of Wands. Page of Cups.
The concern is Justice Thomas. What he wrote about going after birth control next, right? Going after same-sex marriage next. That's the era we're living in, and I hope people are waking up. This is terrible about Roe, but this is going well beyond that if they have anything to do with it.
Your position on the issue of abortion
has
evolved over the years. Tell me about that.
So,
because I started talking and hearing stories of women who had very complicated pregnancies and came over time, talked to more and more of these women who had these circumstances.
Tim Ryan is speaking some sense here. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. Oh gosh, do you want Madison Cawthorn in your bedroom? No, 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 nay, nay, no, no, no.
And I guess Madison Cawthorn and these radicals are in your bedroom.
Do you want Ted Cruz in your bedroom? Good gosh, no.
And it can't be one off. It's got to be a sustained movement
Go.
of Americans standing rights.
Okay.
You got a gay kid that's married?
So, will women flock to gun stores in self-defense? Is women banding together, but what these men have put out there, dating is going to change. You know, they're going to be young men who are on dating apps who are going to be suddenly, they're going to be women who just vanish off the dating apps. Vanish. Not all, of course, but
Congresswoman Jacobs, if you're with us now,
don't want to date.
just want to ask you,
There is no 100% foolproof method of contraception. Thank you for being here, Connor. That's the worry, and I want you guys to keep in mind. Wow. Do you guys remember the guy who was wearing the fake New York City Fire Department, who was yelling at the women protesting the Alito draft? And he was saying the most heinous things, like, you're gonna have my baby, you're gonna have to have it, you're going to, all that kind of heinousness. They're gonna come out of the woodwork too. But yes, but most men are decent. It's true. Most men are decent. Most men are going to want care for the women they're with. Mark Fiore says men will vanish from dating apps too. I would think so too. Diana says the thing is that birth control doesn't always work. I wonder if men will be on the hook to pay child support. I think that's a serious thing.
How do you see this issue playing in these midterms?
I'm afraid I don't know what that is, Constance. I'm sorry.
This decision is deeply personal to me, and I know it's deeply personal to people
So, all right, let's look at some of these other questions. Tiffany Lindley, Autumn. So it's just okay that they lie? Oh, no. We're gonna read on that. I just need to better coordinate with Sarah about the. She's being kind enough to help me today with the description box. And I'm going to refresh and see if there's anything that changed here.
Abortions in the state of Texas will be illegal. There is no state in the country where this issue is probably more on the ballot.
Thelma's mama just said, I wrote my senator, Bob Casey. We need the ERA amendment passed now. Yes.
How Texans and how women in Texas feel about this issue and how you see the political landscape around this issue.
Okay. Yikes.
Thanks so much, Garrett.
All right, I'm going to go in here for a second. Oh, okay. All right. Sarah, thank you. I'll try to leave the description box alone then. Oh, there was a.
And so I think we are going to see.
Where was it back here? Tiffany Lilly was asking, so it's okay that they lie. So will there be any repercussions that the Supreme Court justices lied their lying pants on fire tuckuses off?
And I know that for the generations younger than
So
me, my daughters and my granddaughters, and those of us around this
will there be any
we wake up today with a new resolve to make sure that we're fighting for their futures. And that's what November is going to be about here. It's also going to mean that on the ground, tactically, we are going to need to do everything we can to get people from
Supreme Court justices
other states who are going to need access to safe and legal abortion care. That means protecting the abortion funds here. They are going to be under the gun, literally.
Three of Wands
threatened against them for helping women to leave Texas and go elsewhere, and we're going to see that all over the country. So
what you've put out there will come back to you. They lied. They lied. The Supreme Court justices like Kavanaugh and Coney Barrett and whatnot, they lied. Gorsuch, all of them. It is 40 at 40:45. Please, Sarah. Sorry. They lied. The Supreme Court justices lied. Oh no, stare decisis. It's settled law. I wouldn't touch that. And then they have just because of this, and that's what we're doing today. We are howling at the moon, and it's not going. We're not going to stop. This is the Republicans have been setting this up for decades. They've been fighting for decades, but as infuriating as this is, the Supreme Court justices and Republican, they end up first on the defensive and then out in the cold. I mean, these readings are pretty. The Overcomers show they lied under oath. Are they under oath when they're in their confirmation hearings? Because I don't know. Judith is saying lying was the strategy. If they told the truth, they would have been tossed. Yeah, they would have yeeted out of there. Deben, I'm so sick of this garbage. Help! Oh, we're in this together. We're going to get through it. We're going to get through it, and we're going to. Like Deborah just said, vote blue. Take back our country from the crazies. Absolutely. DL Jersey Shore saying McConnell will never be majority leader again. Deb, and I agree. We have to hold the House and the Senate. Nancy Pelosi was speaking earlier, and said the same thing. Carl is asking, is this the bad thing that was going to happen to mobilize voters for the midterms? Yep. Yep. This in the hearings.
Help our viewers understand the scale that we're really talking about here.
So
it is so hard to absorb that impact.
50 years of plotting to make this a reality. Yep. Okay, so do you guys know, were the Supreme Court justices, were they sworn in under oath? Judith is saying yes, they're under oath. They perjured themselves.
And how the Supreme
Really?
Court dealt with it in this opinion. You know, I'm thinking right now about Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, for whom I clerked at the Supreme Court. And what
Well,
she
then
was
at
speaking today,
43, 45, or 44, let's say 44 minutes in, let's look at, will the justices who perjured themselves, you know, but the thing is they don't have any ethics laws. But can they be removed? Is there anything about their position where it would even matter?
What does this mean in terms of the scale for the country? There's just so much to think about. I'm thinking about
Catherine Michelson is saying, Mickelson, I'm so sorry. Catherine Michelson is asking, can we impeach the Supreme Court? Yeah, but we have to do it in the Senate. That's the problem.
how people are sequencing their careers, what kind of relationships they're deciding.
Grandma Rose Homestead, you've read before that 2022 elections will go blue. This will be why that happens? Yes, this will be why that happens, yes.
And, you know, the court, in today's opinion, it said,
Diane Skiles is saying, yes, I watched, they were sworn in.
About that. That's not for us. That's
Okay.
Speculative. And
So,
it doesn't feel speculative to me to think that there are just millions of women.
All right, so at 45, let's say 45 minutes in, did the justice, can something be done about the fact that the justices perjured themselves? Will something be done? Thank you, Brenda C. Wheel of Fortune. There has been something about being on the Supreme Court. One of the things has always been that you had this position of power and you were unquestioned. And this is, you were untouchable. You were supposed to be in some rarefied air. And that's changing. That's bad. Oh, I'm so sorry, Ricky. I'm so sorry.
Abortion is very much under threat here in the state. You know, we've been talking a lot today about the southern bloc of states, but
Eight of Swords.
But now could take effect again.
Seven of Wands. Tower. Page of Cups. Ace of Wands. They will be on the defensive for the way they have hemmed in women. Do not underestimate. This is the underestimated Democrats. That's the card I keep getting for this. They keep getting underestimated. And they are going to try to do something about it, although it feels like the right, the Republicans and the right will try to fight back against it. But they're going to end up on the defensive, and because, I mean, thank you, Pluto and Capricorn, questioning who has the power. The rarefied air I was talking about with the Supreme Court justices, that's typical Capricorn. That is hierarchy. They are above. They are the supreme. They are, and Pluto saying, really? What if they're corrupt? What if they start making laws? What if they decide what's going to happen? Krista March is saying the Supreme Court needs better ethics standards. It needs any. My understanding is, unlike all the other judges, they don't have any. They're supposed to be self-governing, please. That's the whole point of the American government, is that there are checks and balances. Ace of Wands. Okay, so that give me an idea what that means. Women hemmed in, men being very disappointed. This law is going to be a disaster. It's going to make prohibition look like a toddle.
This new era of medical rights here, Garrett.
And I'll tell you what, I've been covering the guns bill, and Michigan is one of those states that doesn't have a red flag law currently. I've been talking to Debbie Stabenow.
Roxana Lee says Thomas just said the laws governing gay marriage and birth control need to be addressed. Justice Thomas? And just said where? Please, if you could let me know, please.
A place where local elections are going to have a huge impact on that issue, now on this issue.
Catherine Mickelson, exactly. Is Venus and Aries battle ready? Yes. Gordon is saying that Biden is going to talk at 11:30, so in about 40 minutes.
Thomas's concurrence in this case here. I read it very briefly on my way up to the studio. I also read Justice Kavanaugh.
So I think I missed something.
Disagree on this issue, but Thomas talks about the idea that the court should potentially reconsider cases like Obergefell, which legalized same-sex marriage. Potentially other cases.
Marie Sutton is asking, is this part of Pluto and the return of the divine feminine? Yes. Pluto in Capricorn. Yep.
But it does seem to open a door here for future challenges to
Venus and Aries. Oh, Sarah's saying in Thomas's opinion, he said those things need to be addressed. Okay. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind putting in the description box, we need to ask, will Biden, let's revisit adding justices to the Supreme Court.
This notion that all of these substantive rights that are derived from the right to privacy are vulnerable, that none of them should continue to stand. So he identifies, for instance, Griswold versus Connecticut, the case from which we derive a right to obtain and to use birth control in the privacy of our own homes. It's clear that also a potential right for attack is the right to same-sex marriage. And what does that look like? That starts out as laws that are passed in states and challenges that are brought in state courts that can work their way up to the Supreme Court, much like this 50-year path that we saw to overturning Roe. You know, is there a majority on the current Supreme Court that would do to other rights what was done to Roe today? That's not entirely clear, but I think we would be foolish to discount that possibility. And Garrett, if you don't mind, I'd like to actually read, I don't have them memorized, but the closing words from the dissent, which I hope are not prescient in regard to the question that you've asked me, but I fear are. The dissenters say, with sorrow for this court, but more for the many millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental constitutional protection, we dissent. With sorrow, we dissent. I don't recall other cases where the court has used that sort of personal language. I think that personal language speaks to the risk that other rights will be at risk as well.
Joyce, I'm so glad you brought that up because I didn't get to the dissent. I ran out of time to read all the way through it, but I'm reminded of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who talked about at her dissents that a dissent now could be the foundation for a future majority opinion in the future. What do you read in this dissent that might give you optimism that perhaps a future court, a different, different composition might view this issue differently?
Dissents are written for the future. I don't think the country benefits from a future that involves a highly politicized Supreme Court that waffles back and forth on issues based on whims. That's the tragedy. One of the tragedies of this opinion today is that it destabilizes the court. You know, Justice Sotomayor wrote in connection with cases being decided on the shadow docket, can the court survive this stench? That's a problem here, because do we have a future court that restores rights? And then it's just like watching a ping pong game going back and forth. That can't be what the rule of law means in this country. To your question, what does the dissent mean for future rulings? Could, for instance, additional bases, alternative bases be found to protect abortion rights? That's an open question. There is, of course, an interesting First Amendment establishment of religion question here, because some faiths, including the Jewish faith, command women in certain circumstances, particularly where the mother's life is at risk, to use abortion services to preserve the mother's life. So could we see, for instance, a First Amendment challenge that would change the result in this case, but not conflict with its analysis? I suppose that that's possible, but we're a ways off.
That's fascinating analysis, Joyce. Thank you for breaking this down for us. In the last hour, we had an opportunity to hear from Planned Parenthood's president and CEO, Alexis McGill-Johnson, reacting to today's ruling. What she said was important. I want to play what she told my colleague, Jose Diaz-Balart, in the last hour.
This is absolutely devastating. The court just told us that we are not equal. The court just told us that we don't have a right in the Constitution to control our own bodies. We will not go back, and we will not back down. We are going to take this fight to every single state and let people understand what is at stake right now, coming into this cycle, coming into 22. Every single person who is running for anything is going to eat this decision for breakfast.
NBC's Kathy Park joins us now from Jackson, Mississippi. Kathy, this case obviously centers on that 2018 law passed by Mississippi's Republican-controlled legislature. Talk to me about what you're seeing there, what the reaction is in Mississippi.
Hey there, Gary, you're absolutely right. So Jackson, Mississippi, there has definitely been a spotlight on this community because a Mississippi law was a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade, and it got us to where we are today. So the big question is, what happens next? You probably heard in past conversations about trigger laws. Well, Mississippi is a trigger law state, and really there will be a patchwork of new regulations that effectively will ban most abortions in a lot of states here in the South, Mississippi being one of them. The protocol here in this state, there is a 10-day period where the Attorney General will essentially have to weigh in. But she released a statement via tweet just a few moments ago, and she called this a victory for the state of Mississippi. She commended the court and said that the work to empower women truly begins today. And she said, looking ahead, they will be bolstering and improving foster care and adoption resources. But meanwhile, on the flip side, you have abortion rights advocates who have been preparing for this day, right, Garrett? Because obviously the leak in May, they had some time to galvanize a group of people to build resources, potentially tap into new funds, because the big concern moving forward for women who want to access abortions legally and safely, it's going to be several hours away. Many of them might have to take a plane ride to New Mexico, to Massachusetts, the closest state being Illinois. So that is a big concern, especially for communities of color, poor women. We were at the abortion clinic yesterday. It was a very heated scene. You had both sides of this debate in front of the abortion clinic, and we had a colleague over there step over there and just to kind of see how things are going. And there is a large crowd that is gathering. So pro-choice advocates, they're out there saying that this fight isn't over. They will try to continue supporting women who want to gain access to abortion safely and legally. But pro-life advocates saying as well that they will continue their fight to ensure that abortions are eliminated across the board. Garrett?
All right, NBC's Kathy Park in Mississippi. Kathy, thank you. And as we keep one eye on the protests outside the Supreme Court, I want to bring back in NBC's Josh Letterman across town at the White House as we get a little bit closer to hearing from the president, expected to be around 12:30. Josh, what more can you tell us about how the White House is reacting and what we should expect to hear from President Biden this afternoon?
Yeah, this is a really significant moment in President Biden's presidency, Garrett. He has had to respond to court rulings before. He will do it again in the future, but never one on the magnitude of this, as highly anticipated as this, with so many Americans now turning to President Biden to understand what his response will be, what the White House can do to try to ensure access to abortion now that the Supreme Court has said that it is not a constitutionally protected right. We will hear from the president just a half an hour from now in the cross hall of the White House, where he will address what the White House can do. We are told he will start to lay out what some of the federal actions that might be possible are. And we are just hearing from Attorney General Merrick Garland in a statement that is also describing some of what the federal government can do. Merrick Garland saying that the Justice Department strongly disagrees with this decision, saying it will have an immediate and irreversible impact on the lives of people across the country, with the most disproportionate effect felt by people of color and those of limited financial means. But we are getting a sense from this Justice Department statement from Attorney General Garland of what the Justice Department can do. And it largely amounts to strict enforcement of current laws that would protect some of the other things that are necessary for women to get abortions, particularly if and when they are banned in many of these states. And so the Justice Department in this statement pointing out that women who reside in states that have banned access must remain free to seek that care in states where it's legal. So I think we can expect to see the Justice Department making sure that there are not infringements on the rights of women who live in states to travel to another state where it will remain legal in search of an abortion. Merrick Garland also talking about the abortion pill and the fact that states are not going to be allowed to pass laws that are more restrictive, for example, to prohibit access to drugs that the FDA has authorized as safe and effective for women to use. And then we are also hearing from the Justice Department on the issue of access to abortion clinics and the fact that it's not legal under the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act to block people's physical access to walk into an abortion clinic. The Justice Department saying it is going to make sure that that right is protected. And so, as you can see, these are steps around the margins. This is not the Biden administration saying we are going to somehow enforce the ability for women across the country to get an abortion. That is something that only Congress can do. And that's why we expect a key element of what President Biden will have to say to be about the election and making sure to elect politicians who will ensure a woman's right to choose in the future. Garrett.
And with our thanks to Garrett, thanks to you, Josh Letterman. This is Andrea Mitchell Reports with our continuing breaking news coverage of the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade, the law of the land for nearly half a century. This is the first time in American history that the High Court has taken away a constitutional right once it has been granted, saying the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. President Biden, as we just said, is expected to be speaking this hour about the 6-3 opinion to uphold the Mississippi law banning abortion after 15 weeks, with no exceptions for rape or incest. Chief Justice Roberts then joining the majority, but also issuing his separate opinion in this. The court was 5-4, saying that he would not have gone so far as to ban Roe outright. The decision came despite the fact that all three Trump justices, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett, all when questioned specifically during confirmation about abortion, told the Senate that they considered Roe v. Wade to be precedent. And today, Justice Thomas went further, specifically writing in his opinion that he now believes the court should reconsider other rights, including same-sex marriage, contraception, and private consensual sexual acts between two adults. The country will soon be split on abortion going forward, becoming illegal in nearly half the states, either immediately or in the coming months, while the other states will keep protections for a woman's right to choose. This morning, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, with her immediate reaction to this unprecedented decision.
This morning, the radical Supreme Court is eviscerating Americans' rights and endangering their health and safety. The Republican-controlled Supreme Court has achieved their dark, extreme goal of ripping away a woman's right to make their own reproductive health decisions. American women today have less freedom than their mothers. What this means to women is such an insult. It's a slap in the face to women about using their own judgment to make their own decisions about their reproductive freedom.
So let's go right to our panel. SCOTUS blog publisher Tom Goldstein, NBC's Ken Delaney in Outside the Court, NBC's Kathy Park in Jackson, Mississippi, NBC's Dasha Burns in Michigan, and former Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill. First, Tom Goldstein, let's break this down. Confusing to some, 6-3 on overturning the Mississippi law, Dobbs, which banned abortion after 15 weeks, not the 23 weeks that had been in Roe, which was considered viability for nearly 50 years, and then upheld by Casey. But then by 5-4, the justices deciding to ban Roe outright, and that was with Justice Roberts parting with the conservatives and joining the liberal forum members, now the justices, saying that he would not have gone so far as to ban Roe outright. Tom, why don't you break it down? You're the expert.
Well, today, Andrew, the conservatives who, on the day that Roe was decided, set out to get it overturned, succeeded. They've made it their mission. Presidents who are Republican have absolutely committed to appointing justices who they believed would vote to overturn Roe eventually. And they did so today in a very categorical and sweeping way. There is no constitutional protection for abortion in any circumstance, including rape or incest, only possibly to save the life of the mother. And so immediately in a huge proportion of the country, abortion is now illegal. The one small glimmer for pro-choice forces is that Justice Kavanaugh, who is a critical vote here, said that a state cannot ban a woman from going to another state for an abortion, but the dissenter saying that's really, not much of a solace at all, because for the poorest women in America, they're just not going to have access to it.
And Tom, let me just clarify that Justice Roberts certainly is taking a different stance. It doesn't mean that there is a legal right, but it does mean that the court is divided in a slightly different way, and it will certainly affect the court going forward in terms of the way the court is viewed across the country politically.
So the Chief Justice would have gone slower. He said he would have upheld this significant abortion restriction, but left for another day whether to overrule Roe entirely. Probably in a few years, after a few more cases, he would have voted to get rid of it, but he just thought that this was too aggressive, more so than the court needed to. But the more conservative justices have absolutely made this commitment. They view Roe as an abomination, as judicial lawmaking, as totally inappropriate, so they were committed to overturning it as soon as they could. The next questions are going to be about particular kinds of restrictions, like on travel, what states can do to prevent their own citizens from getting abortions elsewhere, abortion pills and the like. And then, as you suggest, new debates over other rights that we thought were settled, the right to contraception, the right to same-sex marriage. All of those are thrown into question today, even though the majority says it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be overruled.
Tom, stay with us, of course. So we've got Ken Delanian at the Justice Department, because Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, has just issued a statement saying that he strongly disagrees with this and explaining what the Justice Department can or will do going forward. Ken?
Andrew, I'm actually at the Supreme Court right now, so I don't have visibility on Merrick Garland's statement, but I am here with about 2,000 people wedged into this First Street area between the Capitol and the Supreme Court. There were about 100 people when the decision was announced, so folks from both sides of the issue have flooded in here. There's some carrying signs and wearing T-shirts. There are other people who just came over from the Hill. It looks like staffers and members of Congress, prominent people from both sides of the aisle. This has been a passionate, raucous, even rowdy crowd, but so far peaceful. The Capitol Police is deployed in force here on the outer edges of this perimeter, and they appear to have the situation in hand. So far, we haven't seen anything approaching violence. It's been largely peaceful, but a lot of passion on both sides here, Andrea.
And let me just, with you at that location, we can expand on that, because I was there the day that the morning after the draft opinion was leaked, of course, which was so notable. And that's when we started seeing such large protests and the fence going up around the court, similar to the fence that had gone up after January 6th around the Capitol. That now is likely to become semi-permanent, because access to the court is now going to be very controversial going forward. Ken?
I think that's a good bet, Andrea. Yeah, that black fence is keeping people away from a part of this building that used to be open to the public, and now it just speaks to the, sort of the divisive nature of our politics. The intelligence agencies have warned that this is one of the issues that extremists have seized on as a potential flashpoint for violence. Again, right now this scene is quite peaceful, but it bears watching as more and more people try to come into this very small space. There is not a security perimeter, as far as we understand, around this area. People can just walk in here. But as I said, there are many, many Capitol Police officers on the outskirts, Andrew.
And Ken, I know you're going to remain there and reporting on all of the immediate reaction there. Let's go to Mississippi, where this case began. It was clearly a case that was thought to be unconstitutional. It was deliberately written to challenge Roe. This was a case, the Dobbs case, and we've got Kathy Park there, where Already there was only one.
Okay, if it's all right with you, I'm going to start. I'm going to tackle a few questions. I think we look at the we listen to some news, but then we answer some questions, and then we'll go back. So, you guys have had great stuff going in the chat. So I've got a bunch of questions here. Let me see if I can answer, or we can do some readings on some of them. I'm just going to start at the top and just work my way through a little bit. At 108.30, the question is birth control next? Also, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a little confused. So, because this keeps saying, the headline here keeps saying the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, but Roberts didn't want to. I'm just confused on that. How does this work? But it's obviously been overturned, and Roberts went with the Mississippi law, but didn't overturn it, didn't ban it outright. Did they try to do that? I don't, anyway, I'm a little confused. But right now, sorry, let me change that to 109.30. 109.30 is birth control next. And the sense I am getting from my guides and what is everybody to calm down. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. But we need to start working it into our kind of daily lives of, okay, have I sent a message to my representatives today? Have I, sent some it's once a month. Could I send $5 to Planned Parenthood or someone who's going to help women? But is birth control next? Because that's brutal. Oh gosh, I can't even imagine going back to that. It's so. Thank you. Dr. Nancy said Roberts said they went too far but voted with majority. Chicken. Yeah. Okay. So is birth control next? Page of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles. Death. 10 of Wands. What this is telling me is it depends where you are. I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. If you have money, you're going to be fine. If you have a lot of money, you're going to be fine. It depends where you are. If you can't leave a state, there are states it feels like they're going all out. Linda Johnson said Roberts was outvoted. He said he would not have moved it so fast. Oh, please. Thread of Hope is saying some states have already discussed certain contraceptive bans. Oh boy. Kelly is saying that HIPAA may be the only thing to protect women in those backward states. Well, apparently this supersedes HIPAA. You don't have medical privacy. Diana is saying, whoa, contraceptive bans. I mean, who does the kind of evil? Shall we name states? Shall we just go down the list of states that are most... Okay, you guys tell me, what states do you think are most likely to ban contraceptives? I'm going to have I'm going to throw my vote in for Oklahoma. Let me see. Maybe Mississippi.
And Claire McCaskill is with us, of course, the former senator and prosecutor.
I don't know. Texas, Missouri, Texas. Yeah, they've got a lot of votes here from Renita and Musical Neptunian and Sarah for Texas. Honestly saying Oklahoma. Karen Conroy says Texas, Florida, Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Virginia. Really? And Georgia. Virginia? Warrior Witch says Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Texas. Yes. Diana, the bigly red states. That is the best description. Yes. All right. So the next question on the list here, Constance is saying Tennessee for sure. Snow Wolf thinks Arizona. Okay. Monique is saying Kentucky. Milan is saying not Virginia. Okay. Holly and Fran says most of the South. Allison Jacobs. Hello, Allison. Says all of the poor states. Yeah. House of Lenore and Becca saying the Bible Belt states. Okay. Deb Marsh says that Kansas has a big vote coming on August 2nd. What big vote on what? Okay. Next question on my list here. At 1:15, 1 hour 15 minutes. Is Thomas feeling drunk with power today? How about Alito? How about I like beer? I'm just going with these three. Thomas, Alito, I like beer. Are they feeling drunk with power today? We have about 13 minutes until Biden is supposed to speak.
And I will tell you that Dianne Feinstein and Amy Klobuchar and many others on the judiciary did their very best to hold these nominees' feet to the fire.
Drunk with power, guys, huh? Oh, look, it's the Emperor. 3 cards for each. Thomas, Alito, I like beer. Mark Fiore says, we don't want contraception to be banned. We don't want any of this stuff to be banned. Thomas, feeling drunk with power today?
Which means not only is Kavanaugh a politician masquerading in a robe, he's a liar on top of that, which makes sense since he was appointed by Donald Trump.
Well, let me follow up on that, and I really appreciate what you're saying. I was an adult before Roe v. Wade, and so I lived as a college student and as a young woman with the ramifications. I was fully aware of the issues and of the illegal abortions and of what women went through. And so I know that there are very passionate feelings on both
Mark,
sides
I'm
of
not
this
putting
issue,
all
which
men in
we
the same
cover.
bucket. I'm really
But
not. And I've
today is a
said
day
repeatedly
where,
that,
as you point
that
out,
most men are
where
good.
2,
I've
if
said
not
that.
3,
I said
and
that
I
earlier. It's okay.
concede that Tony
okay.
Barrett was a little bit more circumspect in the way she answered, or lawyerly perhaps, or equivocating in the way she answered that. But 2 out of the 3 said so under oath. And let me read a statement from Susan Collins, since you brought that up, because this just was handed to me. Decrying the fact that the Supreme Court has abandoned a 50-year precedent at a time when the country is desperate for stability. And she goes on to say, this decision is inconsistent with what Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh said in their testimony and their meetings with me, reaffirming what Claire McCaskill, what you just said, where they were both insistent on the importance of supporting long-standing precedents that the country has relied upon. And we're seeing the anger by opponents of this decision right now outside the court, Claire. Earlier this year, Senator Collins points out that Senator McCoskey and she introduced the Reproductive Choice Act to codify abortion law. established by Roe v. Wade and by Planned Parenthood versus Casey. And she's also working with Senator Kaine on a bipartisan bill now to do that. I'm not sure, you're the lawyer. I've just covered this for decades now, for more than 50 years. And whether the court's decision is so ironclad, Claire, that it can't be legislated, I don't know. But I just also want to point out what Tom Goldstein, confirmed in my opening to this broadcast today, which is that Justice Thomas, in his writing today, said that this now should take the court to reconsider same-sex marriage, contraception, which presumably would include in vitro fertilization and other commonly applied medical procedures, and adult, Claire?
Yeah, well, first of all, Thomas's dissent was a clarion call to bring cases. Yes, dissents are written for the future, but they are also written to signal people out in the country, bring a case. And I think there will be cases that will be brought. In my state now, I believe when you look at two existing statutes taken together, that a woman can be prosecuted for IVF, a woman can be prosecuted for an IUD, using an IUD birth control device. I believe there is certainly questions about the morning after pill in Missouri right now. So if there is a prosecutor that's crazy enough, which in Missouri there probably is, to try to prosecute someone under these laws, then Clarence Thomas might get his chance to affirm that the states have the right to limit women in such an extreme way. And I don't know what to tell you about these justices that said one thing in their hearings and now are doing something much, much different. And the irony is the hypocrisy of this court, Andrea. They just issued an opinion saying that the states cannot have rights when it comes to regulating guns. And now they're saying the states can mandate pregnancy. Forget about mandating masks. They are now giving the green light to states like mine that they can mandate pregnancy. And that is a startling development in a country that doesn't believe that. They are way out of step with the majority of this country. And I only hope that people will channel their anger into political activity, because this can be fixed. Yes, Congress can pass a law codifying Roe in spite of what the Supreme Court did today.
Claire McCaskill, thank you so much. Of course, the former senator from Missouri. Joining us now, Cecile Richards from Texas, the co-chair of American Bridge 21st Century, and of course, former president of Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Cecile, your reaction.
I mean, this is a devastating day, Andrea, and I so relate to what Claire just said. I mean, the calls that I've gotten this morning from not only my own daughters, but other young women around the country who realize they are now no longer in charge of their own pregnancies. They no longer have in charge of their own bodies, and that this was all avoidable. I mean, this is the incredible thing, and I think Justice Sotomayor's dissent really speaks to it. Like this country didn't change.
Sorry, didn't realize I was still muted. I agree, Taylor B. Don't worry, this will be corrected. Send positive energy. I agree.
The only thing that changed was the Republicans put 5 justices on.
All right, so now it's at 1:22, 1 hour 22 minutes. It was the original question: how much are Thomas, Alito, and I Like Beer gloating? And the reason there's a reason I didn't include Coney Barrett in this reading is because I am not entirely convinced she makes decisions autonomously. She is the her husband is the head of the household, and even though she has reached these heights of the judicial system, she is subservient to her husband. So whatever. Thank you, Judy. Okay. So as far as these 3 jerks being gleeful or not, we've got the hermit. So they are in a sense, both sides of this argument are just suddenly in a bubble because there's no middle ground here. Because this is coming down. This is so awful. This is so divisive, and the bubble on the side of Thomas and Alito and I Like Beer is much smaller than the bubble over here. Thomas. For Thomas, this is interesting. I got secrets. There's the emperor, and there's because he thinks he is the emperor, and he is from on high. Every time I get I read on Thomas, it's like there's a big column and a big stone chair, and he's sitting on top of it, looking down on all of us. And so he is deciding for the little people. But he has secrets that he needs to worry about that are behind him, popping out, going, hello, secrets, hello, hello.
Becoming a blackout state where people cannot get access to the most fundamental care. And of course, we've already seen stories in Texas.
Alito. Three of Cups, King of Swords, Star. He sees himself more as a lawmaker, as not like a congressperson, but as a person who makes laws, a person who decides what the laws are, how they're going to be decided. And he thinks that women have been far too loose and whatever else. And now there feels like purity, womanhood, the purity of womanhood. This is okay. I know some of you didn't watch Supernatural, the TV show, but for those of you who did, you know that one of the characters on there who was supposed to be some kind of prophet. It's modern day with all kind of magical stuff, but it's pretty heavily Judeo-Christian, at least in the sense of heaven and hell and God and these particular archangels and Lucifer in hell and all this kind of stuff. So this is Alito I'm reading on right now. In the show, there's a character who was a writer who they believed was a prophet, and it's only much later is revealed that that's actually God. But this character, it was like, oh my gosh, when he thought the world was going to end, he was like, oh, okay, because not realizing his own power, he was just like, oh, okay. So he was trying to like order up multiple prostitutes. And it's this women are pure or whorish. This is such garbage, but that's his thinking today. The sanctity of womanhood. Yeah, that's what ISIS talks about when they make women cover themselves entirely. Oh no, the women have to be kept safe. The women have to be kept safe. Please. I Like Beer, his cards. He got a big old death card, then he got an Ace of Swords, and then he got a King of Cups. I think if anybody's got something to worry about from Biden's DOJ or Biden himself or what have you, but there's some truth here. And it's this sort of truth is being held by this is not Kavanaugh holding the sort of truth to end Biden's whatever. No. This is death is coming for the super, those who are high up, because with the truth, death carrying the sort of truth about Kavanaugh's past, about what he does, And this is Biden maybe adding more Supreme Court justices after all. We'll look on that in a minute. Biden is supposed to start talking in a couple of minutes. We'll stop and House of Lenormand, King of Cups, I like beer. Oh no, I understand. It often is, but it feels like Biden because it's usually my Biden card. It feels like Biden. But maybe, and it's not. I don't think it's the drinking that's gonna. I know it's I like beer. It's the lying. I still think there is a. There's something. It feels, for what it's worth, entertainment only YouTube. It's the gambling. The gambling's the problem. And I don't believe for 2 seconds that has stopped. So this is fascinating, but still heinous. Boobers and Kitty is sleeping right here.
None of them are coming up with the money to make sure that the insurance is covered or somebody has paternity leave or maternity leave. None of them are making sure that child care is happening. None of them are actually doing the work to make sure that this person, that this very
good kitty. Oh, there's a good kitty.
that they have help through it.
Hello, good boy.
They can be the ones to strip that 49, you're talking about almost 50
Hello, good
years
boy.
of our constitutionally protected
What you be doing?
right. This decision that none
Good
of them
boy.
have to deal with.
Good.
I sat here talking to
All right.
some
Oops, sorry.
and one of them talked about how we talked about how they won't even know her name. She's sitting here and she's talking and she's crying about this decision, and those people that made the decision.
Okay. I'm going to stay on for quite a while, but there's also a point at which I'm just kind of keeping an eye out to see if we learn more, if there's information coming out where we learn more, because just hearing more and more about the damage and the fear is not necessarily good for our healths, considering we know that. We're scared for people. So, Cat Shepherd, purr, ear flick. Yes. Thank you, guys. We're in this together. We'll be okay. And I'm not monetizing today, so we can stay with the news, and I can answer your questions, and we'll get through this together. We will. We'll get through this.
As she put out in a statement today, afterwards in private meetings, that they would not overturn this precedent.
Hang on just a second. Let's listen for a second here.
A bit more wiggle room in a comment when specifically asked about abortion by Dianne Feinstein of Amy Coney Barrett, but she did acknowledge that there was precedent. She barricaded a little bit when asked about whether it was a super precedent. She said she's written scholarly articles on that. So at least 2 of those 3 justices did commit to the Judiciary Committee on which you serve that they would not do this. The first time in American history that a conferred right has been taken away. Your reaction?
This is outrageous, Andrea. And actually, I asked Amy Coney Barrett if it was super precedent, and she said it wasn't. And I am not surprised at all by this decision. I think the leaked opinion gave us the guideposts. But the question here is what's going to happen? Look at this map, Andrea. 13 states have automatic triggers so that abortion will be banned. The darker states right here, these states have no exceptions for rape or incest. Then the red states right here, they literally ban abortion as well. That's what we're going to be looking at, a patchwork of laws across the country. And basically the Supreme Court, with the support of Republican senators who put these justices on there, has clearly said that they believe a woman shouldn't have this right to make her own decisions, that they believe, I guess, it should be the government and politicians. Well, guess what? As you're seeing today by the outpouring of opposition to this decision, as we know from the public opinion polls, 80% of the public with us here, They don't want to take away that right. They don't want the women of today to have less rights than their mothers and their grandmas. And they, despite what Justice Alito thinks, do not want to go back not just to the 1950s, but to the 1850s, which is exactly what this decision does.
Senator Klobuchar, Merrick Garland has talked about protecting women who want to travel from one state to another. Some of the people we've interviewed have talked about legislating. Senator Collins, in her statement, says that they will still attempt, I think Senator Kane's bipartisan bill, to codify Roe v. Wade. Can Congress do that? I mean, considering that it's a 50-50 Senate and that you've got at least 13 states with trigger laws and, certainly nearly half the states, 26 states, as you pointed out in your map, where it's going to be illegal, with no exceptions in some.
Andrea, the filibuster, which of course I don't support, I'd get rid of it, but it's a 60-vote threshold. And we have senators out there that are out and out talking about putting in legislation on the Republican side to ban abortion. To me, the answer is simple. It's November. It's the ballot box. That's what it is. And the women of this country and the men that support them, and it is not just Democrats, moderate Republicans, independents, understand this is a step too far. Enough is enough. You cannot get rid of a right that's been there for 50 years with the argument that the word abortion was never in the Constitution. The word woman isn't in the Constitution. She isn't in the Constitution. The Air Force isn't in the Constitution. They are literally taking us backwards. The answer to me is to fight to November and to elect candidates that are going to uphold the woman's right to trust that she can make the decision for herself, between her doctor, with her family, but that they don't want Ted Cruz making those decisions.
And we have a note from D.C. Police, Montgomery County Police. Security presence will be increased in key areas. We assume that is around the homes in Montgomery County, suburban Maryland, of three conservative justices. There are none of those who voted today who, as far as we know, live in the district. But you're going to see more police presence here. You see the fence now, which has been up since the draft was leaked, since shortly after that, when protests began around the court. The court itself has now become highly politicized in a way that Justice Breyer, in his dissent today, was expressing deep sorrow for. It's something that he has, frequently opined against as he leaves the court. And Senator Klobuchar, I see the president has come out. Let's hear him. Forgive me for the interruption.
It's not hyperbole to suggest a very solemn moment. Today, the Supreme Court of the United States expressly took away a constitutional right from the American people that it had already recognized. They didn't limit it, they simply took it away. That's never been done to a right so important to so many Americans. But they did it. It's a sad day for the court and for the country. 50 years ago, Roe v. Wade was decided and has been the law of the land since then. This landmark case protected women's right to choose, her right to make intensely personal decisions with her doctor, free from the interference of politics. It reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, and it reinforced a fundamental right of privacy, the right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now, with Roe gone, let's be very clear. The health and life of women in this nation are now at risk. As chairman and ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, as Vice President and now as President of the United States, I've studied this case carefully. I've overseen more Supreme Court confirmations than anyone today, where this case was always discussed. I believe Roe v. Wade was the correct decision as a matter of constitutional law and application of the fundamental right to privacy and liberty in matters of family and personal autonomy. It was a decision on a complex matter that drew a careful balance between a woman's right to choose earlier in her pregnancy and the state's ability to regulate later in a pregnancy. A decision with broad national consensus that most Americans of faith and backgrounds found acceptable, that have been the law of the land for most of the lifetime of Americans today. And it was a constitutional principle upheld by justices appointed by Democrat and Republican presidents alike. Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 decision written by a justice appointed by a Republican president, Richard Nixon. In the 5 decades that followed Roe v. Wade, justices appointed by Republican presidents from Eisenhower, Nixon, and Reagan, George W. Bush, were among the justices who voted to uphold the principles set forth in Roe v. Wade. It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country. Make no mistake, this decision is a culmination of a deliberate effort over decades to upset the balance of our law. It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized. The court's decision to do so will have real and immediate consequences. State laws banning abortion are automatically taking effect today, jeopardizing the health of millions of women, some without exceptions. So extreme that women could be punished for protecting their health. So extreme that women and girls who are forced to bear their rapist's child, with the child a consequence. It just stuns me. So extreme that doctors will be criminalized for fulfilling their duty to care. Imagine having a young woman have to carry the child of incest as a consequence of incest. No option. Too often the case. The poor women are going to be hit the hardest. It's cruel. In fact, the court laid out state laws criminalizing abortion that go back to the 1800s as rationale. The court literally taking America back 150 years. This is a sad day for the country, in my view. But it doesn't mean the fight's over. Let me be very clear and unambiguous. The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose and the balance that existed is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from the president can do that. And if Congress, as it appears, lacks the votes to do that now, voters need to make their voices heard. This fall, we must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. Elect more state leaders to protect this right at the local level. We need to restore the protections of Roe as law of the land. We need to elect officials who will do that. This fall, Roe is on the ballot. Personal freedoms are on the ballot. The right to privacy, liberty, equality, they're all on the ballot. Until then, I will do all of my power to protect a woman's right in states where they will face the consequences of today's decision. While the court's decision cast a dark shadow over a large swath of the land, many states in this country still recognize a woman's right to choose. So, if a woman lives in a state that restricts abortion, the Supreme Court's decision does not prevent her from traveling from her home state to the state that allows it. It does not prevent a doctor in that state from treating her. As the Attorney General has made clear, women must remain free to travel safely to another state to seek care they need. My administration will defend that bedrock right. If any state or local official, high or low, tries to interfere with a woman's exercising her basic right to travel, I will do everything in my power to fight that deeply un-American attack. My administration will also protect a woman's access to medications that are approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, like contraception, which is essential for preventative health care. Mifepristone, which the FDA approved 20 years ago to safely end early pregnancies and is commonly used to treat miscarriages. Some states are saying that they'll try to ban or severely restrict access to these medications. But extremist governors and state legislators are looking to block the mail or search a person's medicine cabinet or control a woman's actions by tracking data on her apps she uses are wrong and extreme and out of touch with the majority of Americans. The American Medical Association, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists wrote to me and Vice President Harris stressing that these laws are not based on evidence and asking us to act to protect access to care. They say by limiting access to these medicines, maternal mortality will climb in America. That's what they say. Today, I'm directing the Department of Health and Human Services to take steps to ensure these critical medications are available to the fullest extent possible. And the politicians cannot interfere in the decisions that should be made between a woman and her doctor. And my administration will remain vigilant as the implications of this decision play out. I've warned about how this decision risked the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy that has served as a basis for so many more rights that we've come to take for granted, that are ingrained in the fabric of this country. The right to make the best decisions for your health. The right to use birth control, a married couple in the privacy of their bedroom, for God's sake. The right to marry the person you love. Now, Justice Thomas said as much today. He explicitly called to reconsider the right of marriage equality, the right of couples to make their choices on contraception. This is extreme and dangerous path the court is now taking us on. Let me close with 2 points. First, I call on everyone, no matter how deeply they care about this decision, to keep all protests peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. No intimidation. Violence is never acceptable. Threats and intimidation are not speech. We must stand against violence in any form, regardless of your rationale. Second, I know so many of us are frustrated and disillusioned that the court has taken something away that's so fundamental. I know so many women are now going to face incredibly difficult situations. I hear you. I support you. I stand with you. The consequences and the consensus of the American people, core principles of equality, liberty, dignity, and the stability of the rule of law demand that Roe should not have been overturned. With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country. They've made the United States an outlier among developed nations in the world. But this decision must not be the final word. My administration will use all of its appropriate lawful powers, but Congress must act. And with your vote, you can act. You can have the final word. This is not over. Thank you very much. I have more to say this in weeks to come. Thank you.
And with that, the president leaves without taking questions. Senator Amy Klobuchar, a member of the Judiciary Committee, you heard the president saying that protests should be peaceful, that we must act, that people should act, they should vote. What is your reaction to the president's call for action? And we've got to get Amy Klobuchar's mic up. Senator,
here we go. We're getting
Senator,
up just a second.
We've got you, Senator
Okay,
Klobuchar.
great.
I was just asking you if you heard the president, of course you did, and your reaction to his speech and his call for peaceful protests, no intimidation or threats on either side.
Action was what we need. Action is what we need. And that is what you're seeing with the peaceful protests in front of the Supreme Court and across this nation. And one of the things the president pointed out is there are a number of states that allow for abortion where it is legal. And he made very clear that he's going to use the power of the Attorney General to make sure that women's right to travel is not limited. That was important, but that is a limited ability. The ability lies with the people of this country to go to the ballot box in November. And it is about the Senate. The House has already passed a law codifying Roe v. Wade. And of course, we need to elect pro-choice Democratic House members. But it is also about the Senate in states like Georgia and New Hampshire and Nevada and Arizona and Ohio and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Florida. The vast majority of the people in those states support women's rights and trust women to make their own decisions about reproductive choice. They don't want politicians making those decisions. That's what the president was getting at.
That's a point. I don't want to hear another peep out of the other side about you can't make me wear a mask. Anyway, I've got a bunch of questions here, and I know we're watching some of this together, but I want to make sure I'm just going to start going through a bunch of questions, and if something happens or comes up, I'll go on to that. But for now, let me just start here and see if I can get through a number of these.
Who was a longtime resident of Texas as well now as Arkansas.
Kelpie says, I quit my little job yesterday working for a Trumper. Oh, gosh.
What can he
Yay. I hope things go well for you. Rhonda Cox, exactly. What about women who can't afford to travel? That's true. That's true. All right. Let me tackle some of these questions because I have many. And I agree, JJ. This is only temporary because we are going to vote. I keep pulling this out, but right here. Ta-da! My voter card, right there. Right here. Voting. Voting. Easy to find, right there. Okay. Krista March, I'm sorry. I've heard Planned Parenthood is going to try and help women travel if needed. Okay. And thank you again, Sarah, for all your help. Huge. Former Dreamer's asking, thankfully it's temporary, but how long is temporary? 2 years, 3 years, 10 years? The sense I've been getting ever since the draft came out was I was getting like year and a half, 2 years. I would imagine maybe we can get things sorted out by after the election, when things come up in January, when the new people come in. But I've really been getting it more January 2025. New president, new when we've gone through a presidential election in Congress, because if it goes on by that point, whoo boy, the Republicans can basically kiss any chance at power. Is so far goodbye. But anyway, I want to quickly get back to this question I was asking about. So let's change this to at 152.15. My question was at 152.15. Will the League of Jewish Voters or someone like that undo this, or at least part of this? because as they were discussing on the news a while ago, in Judaism, it's very much you're supposed to, to protect the life of the mother. You're supposed to do that. You'd think, why wouldn't that be for everybody? Anyway, but what I got was just how awful this is going to be. Hello, boo-boo. How awful this is going to be. Hi, you gonna come sit in my lap? I'll get the blanket. You could use some kitty. You could use some kitty cuteness. Here, come sit in my lap. Come here. Come here, boo-boo. Or you could just leave entirely. That's fine. What is good? This is obviously going to hurt a lot of people. But this is taking it to court about, wait a second. This is not a part of our religion. Our religious freedom is being infringed upon. How are you? Our religious freedom is being infringed upon.
Thank you so much, Joyce. I also want to bring in.
You're so cute. And this message about that, I think this. Oh, sorry. I try to keep the back end. But I get some changes here. Let's try to find out more about what that change is, what that kind of change is going to be. Hello, precious. How are you? Hello, good boy. Easy, boo boo. Boo boo's and kitty. You are precious. You're so good. I need the good kitty energy today. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I need the good kitty energy. You're a good boy. So will they be able... Kimberly would like me to shut down MSNBC. All right, I'm actually going to do that. Because we've seen pretty much. Okay. Hi. Let's see if we can find out any more. Yes. Let's see. I've got a 5 of Wands, a Temperance, and a Death card. Oops, it should be this way. I have to be careful about the kind of rhetoric I'm going to use, but I just have to be honest. This is temporary. This will not be forever. But while it's in place, for some people, this is going to be devastating. And I'm so sorry to say that. It is going to be devastating. And I'm so sorry. So there may be some arguments for religious freedom, but it feels more like as it goes on and it's almost like the devastation has to ripple out until it actually affects some of these morons. Polly Wanda says lynching was temporary. Tell that to the victims. That's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, here's another thing we have to be very careful of, all of us. I want you, if you hear nothing else from me, please listen to this. We're in this together. And we need to be really careful, all of us, about what we're saying, how we're saying it, because we are all flailing a little bit right now. We are all so angry. And you can say even the nicest thing, but if you're carrying anger from something else in your life, even the nicest thing you say can be really hurtful. So we have to really go out of our way when we're talking amongst ourselves to be supportive, to be kind, to not assume the worst. And agreed, Tiffany Lilly, the more we stick together, the harder it is for them to win. Yes. JJ saying energy comes back, be careful. Yes. And Kelly's got some very cute heart emojis. Yes. So, Ace of Wands. Six of Cups, Star, and what do you think? Are the cards icky? Are they kitty? Oh, yes. The little happy card. The little happy card on the end is kitty approved. We are in the right. We are in it's not just right, it's also common sense. Lynette, me and my midheaven in Aries will keep this in mind. Well, Lynette, you are a good fighter. And this far right garbage cannot stand up to this forever. So the next question is going to be at 1:59. Will the DOJ be able to keep abortion pills of whatever form available by mail? Thank you. Oh, interesting. Milan is saying women in red states probably don't know they could contact any large local synagogue and ask for funds for travel expenses for an abortion. In Judaism, our female protections apply to everyone. I did not know that. Thank you. So, I refreshed. Let me double check where I am. Refreshing. Will the DOJ keep abortion pills in whatever form available? Card's falling out. You're okay, sweetheart. You're okay, good boy. You're the good boy. What do you see? Chariot. That's keeping things going, and from what I've heard, they've the post office, United States Post Office Board, has put something in place that is sidelining some of DeJoy's extremism, so that he won't be in a position to keep being as awful as he's been, or get in the way of this. So that's the mail going forward. That's the bigger federal. When I get the major arcana, this would be more the federal, and then the lower arcana would be more the state, if it's state versus federal. Queen of Cups, King of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, Lovers, King of Wands. This is a material thing. This is women who need help, who are trying to get around the laws. That would very much be a pill. There are far right. There are far right people in the States who would try to get in the way. But it feels like this woman manages to get through all of this and go on. I think the DOJ really is going to stand up. Susan says Tennessee has banned telehealth visits with out-of-state doctors for pill prescriptions, I believe. Really? Lynette says my ears are ringing. Oh gosh, what does that usually mean for you? Tiffany Lilly says, just a heads up, there are 97 males for every 100 females. Women outnumber men in all but 10 states. Keep that in mind. Yes, Boo Sent Kitty offering his opinion. I think the DOJ is going to be stepping up. So my next question is from Catherine Mickelson. What happens to Planned Parenthood? Let's have a look at that. What happens to Planned Parenthood? It is, sorry, Sarah, it is at 2 hours, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, 2:03:30. Not used to being on for this long. Planned Parenthood. People are going to be very upset. Two of Cups. 5 of Wands. Oh, there are going to be protests outside of the clinics in states near the border. But that's not new. There might be more of them, but it's not new. 7 of Cups. I mean, I was I was friends with a woman up in Minnesota who, in her free time, she would be she would basically escort women from their cars into clinics because there are always protesters there. Even if they weren't there for an abortion, there was protesters yelling at them and screaming and saying horrible things to them. And she's like, okay, so she'd go and she'd put on her reflective jacket and she'd be walking women just in and out of Planned Parenthood to their cars in her free time. Hey. So what happens to them? This feels, it's not Underground Railroad. You're going to find technology being used quite a bit. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I have been here for a while. This technology is very much going to get involved in all of this, and organizing, and people being able to, women being able to find options that they wouldn't have been able to find in the past. But they're still in states that are going to be awful to them, where there are bounty laws and all this garbage. These women, but it's still going to be there. It's still going to try. CO is saying VPNs and burner phones are going to become big. Jay Brumley says use a VPN on your computer. Yep. Old Spirit Art says, as a teenager, I went to my local Planned Parenthood and got free birth control. And my mom didn't need to know. I had rights as a human. Underage, yep. Yep. DE Warrior, which is saying, what about period tracker apps? Who on earth would use one at this point? Seriously. Yeah. Exactly, Rhonda Cox. Planned Parenthood does a lot besides abortion. They do discounted health care for the poor. Yes, they do a lot of good. Oh, the far-right victory. 9 of Wands. Knight of Swords. Ace of Pentacles. Oh, yoy. Do a refresh here. This knight in the middle, who's going after the people who feel beaten up. This knight, it's trying to. Someone might be getting access to healthcare to save their lives or whatever. Oh no, we'll run over there. We'll make it stop. Oh, run over here. We'll make it stop. We'll run. And it feels like they're running here, but as soon as they do, it's like, thing, you can do this over here. Oh wait, I've got to go over here and stop this. Oh, you can do this over here. Well, I need to run. But it feels like this it can't keep up. Somehow they're limited in trying to stop women, because women are tech savvy. Many have their own income, are willing to help each other, and it just seems like the people in these super red states are going to not be able to keep up. Also, do remember, hey Rumley, ought to maybe a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood. Yeah, I think that may be in future. Carol Lamb says, we provided a host of healthcare services to women. Yeah. I was going to say something, and something in the chat just threw me. Okay, let me just go on to the next. I'll go on to the next. Because, this topic, just so you know, this topic is hard for me too. I mean, I have my own history. I have my own issues. I have, various things that have happened to me. This is not an easy thing for me to read on, energy to go into, but I have a platform here, and there's no way I am going to sit here and be quiet. There's no way I'm just going to go, oh gosh, no, I can't. No matter how much some issues I have might be triggered. I just have to, I'm not going to be quiet. So I guess I'm just saying that to let you know that if you are getting triggered by some of the talk, because there's a lot of stuff being thrown around. There are a lot of words about reproduction, about what can happen, different situations. All of these different things are going to come up. It's also good that some people feel strong that they can say things that have happened to them and what have you, but also just keep in mind that what people really need now is support. They need support. They need to know they're not alone. They need to know we're in this together. So just keep that in the forefront of your mind, because I guarantee you, the stories you have to tell, you're not the only one. Unfortunately. Tiffany Lilly, be an ally for all. Yeah. Gary is saying, absolutely not. We can't be silent. Sorry if you have triggers. What did I just say? What did I? Yes, thank you, Sarah. No one's asking anyone to be silent. Okay. Maybe, Lucky Girl said, thank you all. Hello, Lucky Girl. Thank you all for being here for each other. We're each other's support group. Yes. The Storm Tarot. Our triggers do not outweigh our love and responsibility for those who will be affected by this. Okay. Okay. Next question, 2/13/30. Will the filibuster now go? Two 13:30. Will the filibuster now go? Well, 2:14. 2:14. 2 hours, 14 minutes. Will the filibuster now go? I must have misspoken. Seriously, I must have misspoken. Maybe if I phrase it that, maybe if I try again on phrasing on that. Your stories are important. What you've been through is important. Some of the details of some of the horrible things that have happened to women or even men, for that matter, your story is important, but the details of your story can be triggering for people who are just trying to do the right thing and stand up for others. So that does not mean be silent. It doesn't mean don't support others. We absolutely need to support others. Just please keep in mind that if you are going to talk about your experiences, the more detail you put in them, the more you are likely to trigger someone as much as support them. Trigger someone as support them. What? Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. Yes, Tiffany, just be understanding and kind. Yes. And thank you, Sarah. All right. 2:15:30. Sure. Filibuster. Can we please get rid of the filibuster? Because it doesn't feel like it. Sun. Arizona Cinema, anybody? Six of Swords. 8 of Cups. There they are in the way. Nope. Nope. Oh, Joanne Morris says my OCD isn't overtime. Oh, big hugs. Joyce Gordon is saying, I hope you take some time off after this week. It's been a rough one. Well, I was expecting this to come out next Tuesday. So, in theory, starting tomorrow, or the day after, I could go on my staycation. I'll still be doing readings, but kind of vacation-y stuff. I don't know. All right. 2 hours, 17 minutes, 30 seconds, 2:17:30. What was next? Will Biden appoint more justices? 21730. Biden, well, suggest more justices. Thank you, Susan. Tam 322 is saying takes the eyes off the January 6 hearings. But they were actually not going to. They weren't going to reconvene for at least a couple of weeks anyway, is my understanding. Oh, hang in there, Pamela. Hang in there, everybody. Ten of Cups. Families. Yeah. Oh. See, I'm getting off and on. I'm getting dizzy from the amount of energy coming off of this. Oh, no worries. No worries, everybody. Okay, will Biden add justices? Six of Cups, Queen of Cups, Temperance, King of Wands, Six of Pentacles. I got a Temperance card in the center, but okay. Well, I mean, because this is good. This is there need to be more justices to temper this far right garbage. See if I can get some more. Let me see if I can get some more information here. There are 13 districts, and so why wouldn't there be 13 Supreme Court justices? Kathy Delas says it's overwhelming, dear friend. It is. It is. Lisa Graham says maybe you need a pink helmet for a while. Oh boy. It's an idea, Constance. Okay. Biden, are you going to add Supreme Court justices? Hassel and Norman says 13 is my lucky number. Suspension. I've read on this before. I keep getting a DOJ going after I Like Beer and whatnot, doing the full background checks on I Like Beer and the Step for Justice, rather than adding more. Hierophant, Five of Wands, Two of Wands, Page of Swords, Hermit. Government. It's far-right messaging, bullying. They're out in the cold, but I don't know. See, I wonder if there's something that Biden can do that I'm not thinking of right now, because it's like there's the right here, there's Temperance on them, there's the Hermit on them, but it's not a whole bunch of new justices. I'm getting it's like the energy is trying to tell me something, but I don't know quite. Lisa Graham, understatement of the century. Pluto returns are rough. Sweet mercy. Yes, exactly. Oh boy. Oh gosh. Thread of Hope says if some are removed, maybe Biden appoints replacements. I think that's what I is that more Biden appoint. replacements because some will be removed. Spirit and Sage said they didn't take long to bring up birth control and queer rights. They aren't even trying to care. Yeah, care anymore. Yeah. Full. Yeah, I really do think it sounds like something oh, you're a Democrat, this is what you would say. I think the Republicans really are going to regret this. They're going to come to regret this. D.E. Warrior says make it hurt for the GOP in November. This is going to be one heck of a burden on Republicans. Yeah. Burden, devil, women of strength in the middle. There's 8. Oh, this is in the individual states. 2 of Cups. I don't know if you guys have seen this before. Do I have it handy in one of my books? Let me show you something. Because I don't want to just say this. I just want to throw this out there. I want you to be able to see it. Let's just go to Astro Theme and look at the chart for today. And I'll show it to you. Okay. Now, I haven't had any time to go in and look at the astrology. But I do know there's one thing going on I do know about. Okay, this is over on Astro Theme. Hopefully you can see this. All right, and this is, yeah, you can't. Wait, let me do this. Okay. This is the chart for today. Actually, this is the chart for right now. And I can even go back to this morning. It came out at like 9:15 or something. Let's go back 3 hours, maybe. 1, 2, 3, somewhere around there. When this came out. Right here, Neptune at 25:26, right here. Okay, 25:26. If I on Astro Theme, you can pull up I can pull up the chart for the U.S. It's like U.S. nation. It's got some weird name. Declaration of Independence. This is the U.S. chart. So in this chart, you've got Neptune here at. Am I still in there? You can still see this up here. We had Neptune up near our up near the midheaven. It's at 22:25 Virgo. And if you remember, Neptune was down here at about 26. It's still, but basically you've got Neptune opposite. The last time that Neptune, because it takes so long for Neptune to go around the sun, the last time that Neptune in the sky was opposite Neptune in the U.S. chart was a civil war. And history doesn't repeat itself, but it sometimes rhymes. And I've been saying for a while to everybody that we are going into a new kind of temporary civil war, because they don't go on forever. But where red states are going to go ruby red, which is going to make blue states have to go sapphire blue. And that's what's happening right now. So between our Pluto return, which is always the Pluto in our chart, where Pluto in your chart is your sense of power, where you get your power from. For example, what little power I have in this life comes from what I create. And I have my Pluto is in my fifth house of what we create. Also fun or kids or, what we create. Gambling, which I don't do. But our Pluto, who has the power we're dealing with, it's being emphasized. We have like a double Pluto with the return there. It's double the Pluto power. So we've been dealing with all of this, and then now we're still dealing with the Neptune, opposite Neptune in the chart. So it's a lot, and it's a lot to have to deal with. Lily says if the decision was made public during a void moon, that would be great. Were we in a void moon at 9:30 Central Time this morning? Because I don't know if we were. I was hoping for a good Mercury retrograde because that would have weakened this. It would have to be revisited later. But there's something going on with the justices. I do get the DOJ finally doing the investigations of I Like Beer, the Step for Justice, and whatnot. So we'll have to see. Let me see what else I can get through here. Hello, kitten. Are you trying to dig under your little blankie? What you doing? Here, what you doing? You digging under your blankie? You digging under your blankie, sweetie? You're a good boy. Yes, you are. You're a good boy. Yes, you're a good boy. Do you want to be under your blanket? I can put it over you if you want. Oh, sorry. It's just trying to... Would you like to be covered? All right, I'll cover you up. He's adorable. Here, move forward just a little. Move forward just a little. Move forward just a little. Hey, come on. No, you don't have to leave. Just move forward a little. There. See, and now I can do this, and I can cover the kitty. There you go. All right, happy kitty. Oh, Boo Boo. Yes, thank you, Jesse Hill. He is very sweet. All right. He is a sweetheart. So, Tiffany, Lily, Christy, Nicole, and some others were asking, so you should look at it, are gay rights next? And we're at 2:30:30. Krista March says I have to cover my cats each morning for their naps. I get that too. Especially this one, not the other one. This one, absolutely. He loves being covered. Are you doing your best? He's doing his best Star Wars character impersonation. How you doing? These are not the paws you're looking for. These are not the paws we're looking for. I am strong in the Force. I am strong in the cuteness. Okay. Obi Boo Boo won. Exactly, Sarah. Obi Boo Boo won. Yes. Sage and Spirit, does the opinion coming out during retrograde count? It would, but we're not in retrograde. The Mueller report came out during a retrograde. We know how that turned out. But okay. Yes, the Force is with him. The cuteness is with him. All right. So at, 2:32:15. 2:32:15 for time. 2:32:15. Are gay rights next? when I reach up to the energy of my guides, I get a calm sense of it's not like a calm like I don't care. It's a calm like very standing in my truth, standing in my strength, speaking my truth, saying what I believe, helping others where I can. Women, they take away women's rights. Guess who they come for next? Foggy Ozark belly rubs. Oh, only in rare circumstances will he put up with that, but sometimes. 8 of Wands. 6 of Swords. 5 of Wands. 9 of Swords, Emperor. Our gay rights next. Coming against all kinds of rights. And people feeling like they have to move. Causing a huge ruckus in states where the patriarchy is in full control. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of fear. That's what I'm getting. Lily says your guides seem wonderful. They are absolutely wonderful. I feel lucky to have them. I've never been able to pick up on like their names. Karen Conroy says Boo Boo Zen breaks are helping us all. Yes. Oh, Janice Packard is saying, good day, everyone. My kitty Daphne always wants me to cover her too in the mornings for our rights at the moment. Women of America, stay strong. We will get through this together. Yes. Our gay rights next. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Gosh darn it. Hermit card. King of Pentacles, 6 of Cups, the Little Women. Oh, lovely. Now I've got a card. Sometimes I get new meanings for cards. And now I've got a card for women in Gilead. I didn't used to have a card for white supremacy, and until today I didn't have a card for women in The Handmaid's Tale. The men folk. Women, and there's anything beyond that will be struck down. It's going to depend on what state you're in. Are gay rights yet? Are gay rights next? Depends on what state you're in, but yeah. Yep. Yoy. House of Lenormand, back from House of Lenormand's been a wonderful adding into the discussion. Well, if this gives us any comfort, keep in mind that this is totally going to ruin McConnell's next few years. He won't be able to do anything about the fallout that he helped create with the Supreme Court. Ding, 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 ding. Wishing Well Adventures says subjugation. Okay. Just Chishelle says, no, let's just keep the garden center card. I know, Saturday at the garden center, but now it's the women of Gilead. Oh, net, I asked about birth control earlier. And from what I remember, it still comes down to what state you're in. CC Ryder says, I see a lot of questions, but not one that asks, will this cause moderate Republicans to vote Democrat in the midterms? Ooh, I don't know if I can get to everything today, but we can try throwing that in. If you wouldn't mind grabbing it, Sarah, I'd appreciate it. Poor Sarah, we're working her overtime. She's trying to help grab questions, make sure the timestamps are in there. Yeoman's work. Sarah, you are a blessing, and I am grateful for your help. I'm grateful for you and your friendship and everything. So, no, I made a really cute overlay for today, and then it just went poof out the window. I'll use it tomorrow because it's cute. It is cute tomorrow. It's a happy kitty. It's a magical kitty, actually, overlay. It's a, you will give me the treats. You will give me the toys. It's very cute. And today's live stream isn't monetized, just so you know. So you won't see any ads or anything like that because I was running news earlier, so I can't monetize it. So the hat is the overlay. There you go. Oh. All right, 2:39. So at 2:39, Warrior Witch had a question. Are women going to start closing their legs and refusing to get married now in protest? This is going to have all kinds of repercussions. I said when I first came on, or after, I don't think long after I came on, I can't remember now. With all of this happening, and I'm not even sure about what's going to happen to contraception in certain states, dating apps, the old casual hookup. I think there's a chance, but let's have a look. Six of Swords. Well, people have a sense of, we have higher expectations for our long-term relationships, for our long-term romantic relationships. We expect more. We expect someone who's more compatible than, say, our grandparents did, our great-grandparents did. It was great if you really, you fell in love with somebody, but what you expected from them was, it's more now. And so with apps and what have you, and with looking elsewhere, casting your net in a wider scale is more common. That's the card for the reading. Yeeks. All right. Oh boy, this is going to have huge repercussions. See, Tarina says, when men get tired of hearing no, what will happen? Jeez. 3 of Wands. Oh, this is going to have repercussions. You have sent this ship out there, far right Republicans. You sent this ship out there. It will return. Very bad. This is not only, this is an end to the way things have been done for a long time, but also there's this ring of protection all around this woman. Women feeling like they have to put a full ring of protection around them. And this feels like the wheel of progress is just suddenly gone, and it's frozen because of these laws. This is going to have big implications over the next year. Bigly. Sarah says, women should demand to see the voter registration card on the first date. That too. boy. All right, 2:43. Jay Brumley says the age of Aquarius is coming. That is true. That is true. 2 hour 43 minutes. Are there going to be massive protests and riots because of this ruling? 2:43. Riots, protests, massive protests because of this ruling. Well, that was the other thing. You know, it's like, well, we'll come out with it on a Friday. Yeah, and tomorrow is the day when most protests happen, on Saturdays. So Kathy Delisle says, remember, a lot of these zealots are looking forward to the end of days. That is true. Old Spirit Art says, I've witnessed history in my years, seeing women get rights and contraception, and then seeing it slowly ripped away. Man, I'm getting old. Josie R. Jose? Is it Jose? I just got an image in my head of what the Dems are going to do to the GOP in November from the Avengers movie. Hulk slamming Loki. Puny party. Massive protests. Eight of Cups. Oh, that's people standing. Women. Got a Justice card, Temperance, Five of Cups, Seven of Wands, and Empress. This is what they ruled. We're not going to break out in violent riots all at once, but the people on the right, they are going to be very disappointed at how much blowback there's going to be about this. Oh, and don't forget, didn't the Supreme Court basically just negate Miranda rights? Don't forget that. This is the far right on the defensive against women who are going to stand in their power. This will not stand. It will take some time, but this will not stand. It will not stay. Okay, so Tiffany Lilly, you were asking, how did they come to this conclusion? I don't know that it's necessarily something I could read on. They say it pretty well in the ruling itself, all the details of their, I hate to call it thinking. Okay. Carmen Tristan was asking, how is Susan Collins feeling right now at 2:46? 2:46:00. Susan Collins. Not one of my favorite people, as longtime viewers know. Joan Maurer says she's celebrating. Well, let's see. Try to have a good day, Kelly. Good day. CC Ryder, Trump released a statement. Oh no, that God made this happen. How would Trump know? The walking embodiment of all 7 deadly sins? Yeah, I don't think they've got a direct line. I mean, I know we all do because we're all connected to the source, but you know what I mean. Susan Collins, yes. Becca, House of Lenormand. Susan Collins is probably very concerned. I cannot stand this woman. Oh, Kim Watkins. Thank you. Thank you for that. My mother gave me this. I thought that was very sweet of her. I kind of expected. My dad's very dismissive of the cats. He puts up with them, but get away from me, they're less than. So it surprised me and pleased me that my mom gave me that. Alrighty. She's disappointed. This is a refusal. Well, I think Trump has learned his lesson. Well, he said he's not going to do anything to overturn Roe v. Wade. I cannot stand this woman. King of Swords, Chariot, Two of Swords, Moon, Knight of Swords. This ruling in the maps of states. Pam is saying she stated they lied to me. You don't say. What happens in Maine? Is Maine one of the states that is going to be protected, or is it one of the states where zombie laws might kick in? Deborah Castro has a point talking about Trump, coming from a guy who couldn't recite the first 3 words of the book of Genesis. Deanna Bell says, well, because in Trump's mind, he is God. Taylor B says, keep vibrations high. Linda Ware says, Susan has no conscience. She made these decisions, and there are going to be some unhappy people in Maine. What are the laws going to look like in Maine? I'm not liking this. Jay Brumley says they said only 13 states had restrictions already on the books. I think I would think Maine would be fine, but there's something here where it's like she says one thing and does other things, and it's not good. Oh, like I said, something funny, which does not surprise me in the least. House of Lenormand says, in the beginning, or for Trump, man, woman, person, camera, TV. First words of Genesis. For us, in the beginning. For him, it's man, woman, person, camera, TV. Oh boy. Man. Okay, good. Trillium Tarot says, I'm looking at the maps. Maine is not a state with trigger laws. Good. Vicky C says, yes, Maine is fine. Okay, they don't have trigger laws, but I'm not liking. She's going to go along with some other do not. Okay, if you're thinking, yeah, she's a Republican, and if you're thinking she's going to be like, oh, I was wrong. No, and do not expect her to be fighting for the women's health and safety of the women of Maine, their health and safety. Nope. Zippo. Okay. Joanne, you look like a 20-year-old. What skincare do you use? Oh, bless your heart. I'll give you a big hug. I use Olay Regenerist. And other than that, I stay out of the sun. I can't stand being in the sun. Don't like it at all. I take a lot of antioxidants. Seriously, I have all these supplements I take, and 2 of them contain vitamin C and green tea extract, and yeah, antioxidants. And That was a lot. Thank you, Black Cat Blue Chair. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Okay, so at 2 hours, 2:53, basically, 2 hours, 53 minutes. My Gemini rising is getting such a workout today. Kim Hawkins, you do look like that to be too. I don't know what that means. Joanne Morris says, me and the sun are enemies. This window, this is pretty much it. This does all the sun I want. So, Spirit and Sage, bless you. Thank you. M. Kelpie says, Johnny says the white ball of death. Yes. Yes. All right. Sorry. 2:53:30. At 2:53:30. Diana was asking, did the Supreme Court choose to release this decision at this time to deflect from the January 6th testimony this last week? I'm surprised they brought it out today, to be honest. I really was expecting them. Thank you, Kim. I really was expecting them to wait until they'd be like, oh, clerk, go announce this. We're going out the back door. We'll be on vacation. But no. Nuclear Magenta, make sure your vitamin D levels are good. Yep. Yeah. 7 of. So why did they do this? Far right on the defensive. Death card. Emperor. 8 of Cups. It's not entirely no. It's not entirely yes, but it's not entirely no. They see what's coming down against our wannabe Führer. All the evidence that's been coming out. But by the time the committee has their next hearing in a couple of weeks or so, this will be something we've digested and something we are dealing with. We're kind of hit our stride. Deborah Coster says, Autumn, my 33-year-old son said you look 30. Oh, mwah. Bless you. Bless you. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for being here. Okay. All right. At 2:56. Oh boy. Will the Texas GOP pass all their platform bills before the November election? Oh, shockwave. Oh boy. We're really going down in the muck. Oh, man. Oh, man. All right. Texas. Teggis. Texas. So, cruel King Abbott of Texas, are you going to get all of your cruel edicts in place? Foggy Ozark is saying the right wing has the Federalist Society Heritage Foundation and Citizens United. What do the Dems have by comparison? Not a thing. But do we want to have stuff like that? Really? I don't know. I think it allows us to have more of a consensus or try to form more of a consensus rather than, I mean, it's very Republican to come up with, okay, this we're gonna only listen to this. It's very authoritarian. But Autumn's if Autumn's not giving away her Fountain of Youth secrets, I think that's it. That's no sun, a ton of antioxidants all the time, every day, and Olay Regenerist. That's it. That's all I got. So Ugh, 3 of Swords. Yuck. Yuck. 5 of Cups. King of Pentacles. Knight of Swords. Emperor. Yeah, this is good grief. This is the law, aggressive law enforcement of the patriarchy, because get rid of these. All these women have had all these rights. All these people have had all these rights. We have to get rid of that. But the sword of truth, it won't last forever. Cruel King Abbott, his reign of terror, it won't last forever, but it's going to last for a while. And this is just ugliness. Unfortunately, that's all I'm getting there. Rosalie Pearson says, how about good genes, DNA counts? Oh, I'm sure that's part of it. But Joanne Mars says, send us a list on the community page of what you take and use, please. Oh, well, I guess I could. All right. Let's see here. Where are we? Let's see how much longer I can go, which might not be much. How long have I been on? 9:30? I've been on? No, 10 o'clock. 10, 11, 12, 1. I've been on for 3 hours. Okay. Laura M., good question. At 2:59:30. I guess 3 hours. I could have just looked there. 2:59:30. Will the ERA finally get passed? Because all we're waiting on is changing the end date by which the different states had to have ratified. So we just need Congress to say date. There was a limit. The ERA had to be ratified by so many states by the state. And we just go, oh, we'll take the date off because we have enough states that have ratified. It's just time's run out. But if they could go back and just go, so ERA, Equal Rights Amendment. It's very short, by the way. If you've ever read the ERA, it's very short. It doesn't need to be long. Larry Murray saying, what, no collagen for your skin? I'm vegan. I can't actually do collagen. It makes me ill. Ace of Wands. That would be the far right. Okay, thank you. Hierophant, government, women being hemmed in, which is very much going to rattle the right. No, we're not getting the ERA anytime soon. This is hemmed in women rising up against and government taking my rights away. You pinheads can go away. I'm not getting the ERA passing soon, though. Thank you, C. Torino. Milan is saying I'm vegan too. I don't have a choice. I like being vegan, but I don't have a choice. Okay, who's next? Brenda C., I don't know that this is anything I could read on. The question was, SCOTUS has caused so much fear and anxiety in this ruling. How can they be trusted? They can't. They can't. I don't really have anything I could add to that. Steve was asking, should SCOTUS conservatives be concerned about their safety? I don't want to read on that, to be honest. I hope they'll be okay. But I don't want to go there today. Desrat, is mixed marriage next? I think that's at 3:02. 3 hours, 2 minutes. Mixed marriages next. Excuse me. Oh, Marie Wells, thank you. Thank you. Racial purity laws. That's what we need, apparently. Knight of Swords. Oh, kind of faint. Again, depends what state you're in. How are you, boo-boo? Two of Swords. Seven of Wands. Five of Cups. Nah, this is weaker. It'd be harder to enforce. But be careful what state you're living in. Actually, that's a question I want to. That's a question I want to ask. At 3:03:30, I want to know: is this going to cause a huge moving realignment in the country? Oh, thank you, Marie Wells. That's very sweet. Krista March says Thomas won't vote on mixed marriage. Well, I was getting depends on what state you're in. So, but mass exodus. That's what I was going to read on. Sorry. People picking up and going, okay, not staying in this state anymore. I mean, there are so many people who can't afford to do that. Hello, sweetheart. Hello, sweetie. Hello, good boy. You're a kitty. Oh, big stretch. Mass exodus. Exodus onto the kitty, onto the lap. Oh, he's a good boy. Oh, Lola Bell says, sorry, forgot to mention that a BML, Black Female Anger, Black Moon Lilith, is conjunct the sun in the 10th house. We're in Cancer, which rules motherhood. Well, that would make a lot of sense. Nine of Swords. It comes to a point, there are people today turning to their spouses saying, we need to move. I can't do this. We need to move. Lola Bell says Lilith, BML, refuses to submit to the patriarchy. Absolutely. Lilith was the first wife of Adam, but she refused to submit to him. And so she was turned into a demon and cast out or something, and then Eve was created. Lola Bell, I'm curious, do you use Lilith the asteroid or Black Moon Lilith, which has to do with the moon maths? Ta-da. Al Menzi says, if the demographics changes, we still have to deal with the 2020 census, which won't change until 2030. But still. B. Smith says, that has been my intuition for a while. It's in the American blood. Go where you can be free. Yes. Oh, Taylor B., thank you. Thank you. Queen of Swords. Two of Wands. Hierophant. Magician. Five of Swords. Well, I'm not getting a card of moving. But absolutely, the laws, yikes, the state governments, some people standing up, but this is a lot of trying to stand up in your own state for your own rights. Black Moon Lilith. Diane T is similar to Lilith. Oh, they're both Lilith. They're both. They're astrological. CO says no one will invest in red states. I've been trying to figure out why so many people have been moving to Texas. It's like, are you crazy? Why would you do that? Or we're going to leave California and go to Texas. not saying California's perfect. I've never lived there, but I am saying Texas. Oh, the right-wing victory. Seriously, after this, do what you need to do. But I'll tell you, I could use some time of I'm just going to go do some art. And Shockwave says, FYI, Abbott's first bill is separation from the union. It was? Or that's what he's doing next? Glenda Miles says taxes. Honestly, says cost of living, maybe. Holly and Francis, maybe they want to turn Texas blue. Good luck. Well, the thing is that saying there's no state income tax, the state just gets their taxes in other ways. It doesn't actually work that way. But what do I know? All right, 7 of Wands. Why am I still pulling cards on this? Anyway, 5 of Wands, Temperance, Hermit. I've got Democrats banding together in red states. Oof. The slog. Bless all of you who are going to try to do that. So. All right. Foggy Ozark is saying, I've been doing some healthy detachment from Trump and failed country stuff lately. I need rest and detox. I understand. Milan says, I live around Austin. Austin is super duper blue. I used to live, for about a year, I lived in San Marcos. So I know what you mean. Constance says, Texas has huge property taxes. Yep. All right. 310. Oh, Catherine Mickelson, will they bring back orphanages? Oh, jeez. Three cards at 310. Who else has a headache? Four of Swords. Queen of Pentacles. 9 of Wands. Magician. No, they've got the foster care system in place, and it does not work well. Better than nothing, but the entire Health and Human Services system to help children is already cracking. But I'm not seeing these are not cards of orphanages. Oh, okay. CC Riders is breaking news. Susan Collins issues a statement. The decision is inconsistent with what Kavanaugh and Gorsuch said to me. Lady, I don't care. You play games. You knew they were lying. Bye, Felicia. Okay. Okay. Maria Zamora is saying at one time my taxes were $1,900. Now it's $4,700. Is that property taxes? Oh. Chicago suburbs? Property taxes are crazy high. Crazy high. But anyway. Where I don't even know where I am. Oh, thank you, Sarah. You are amazing. 3/12/30, please. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know how many more of these questions I can do because it's just, I need to get out from underneath this. Hello, CO. Krista March is saying in the 50s, women had babies taken from them and adopted out if they were single mothers. Are they going to start taking children from single mothers again? I wouldn't think so. They want the patriarchy. They want women out of high-paying jobs. And if they did, it would only be in the reddest of red states. But let me see. Thank you, Linda. Ace of Swords. Yikes. Justice. Four of Cups. Queen of Swords. No, but there could be some cases. But I'm not really getting that. It could be more the men, the fathers, the biological fathers, getting more ability to take care of the child or get the child if they have more means or whatever. I'm not sure. It's more murky, but it feels all I'm getting is more men's rights rather than women losing their children outright. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I will eat lunch. I will. Let me see if I got anything else here that. Oh, JJ. I like this. This is. I doubt it, but let's have a look because I like this outside of the box thinking. All for that. At 3 hours and 15 minutes. JJ was saying, we are technically at war with Russia. Technically. I mean, we're not really, but, we're sending a lot of stuff. Could Biden use the Defense Production Act for contraceptives? Al, I'm not going to read on that question today. I'm already just I've already been in the deep end, and at this point, I'm trying to wade into the more shallow end of the pool so I can get out. It's like, okay. Oh, thank you, Joanne. Thank you. Thank you. Defense Production Act. He's. Here's the thing. There is I don't know where the plant is, but what's his name? Glenn Beck was complaining stupidly. Shocking, I know. Glenn Beck was complaining about this plant that is the main manufacturer of ammunition for the U.S. military. And it's basically the whole thing's a government contract. It's its own thing, government contract. Now, what happens is that the government is paying for X amount of ammunition, and they like to have a little extra there. So this company sells about 30% of that in the private market, which drives down the cost of ammunition in the public sector. Now, if the US government said, you know what, we don't need all this extra ammunition. We need this amount. And they cut back on what would be sold into the regular market, the cost of ammunition would go up. So The military has the VA. There are women soldiers. So if Biden really needed to work around, is there a possibility that the military could start doing some production and, oh, we have extra and it's federal, so it can go anywhere to make availability. Right now, I don't know that we need that. There's still the companies making it now, but it's just a thought. I'm just throwing that out there. Just let's think outside the box here. Biden needs a Defense Production Act, contraceptive strength. For what it's worth, I really do feel like Biden is very much on our side. Very much on our side. He's not just blowing smoke. Strength, 7 of Cups, 8 of Swords, Page of Wands, Hierophant. Not really. Not really. But I don't think this is going to happen. But maybe there is some outside the box thinking that can be done. I mean, what's the legality? I mean, I think Becca has gone on with her day, but she was in the Navy and still works for the Navy, to the best of my knowledge. And what are bases? What are our bases in various states? Are they federal? Is it federal land or military bases, or is it state land? Could things be made available on bases? I don't know. Oh, Becca is here. Becca, what do you think? What do you think about the possibility? Sarah's saying, she was saying earlier bases are federal. Becca, what do you think about the possibility of maybe the military making some things available on bases around the country? Just a thought? I don't know. Maybe unworkable. There's Biden. He's definitely, it very much feels like Biden is going and asking everybody, okay, give me ideas. Give me ideas. High Priestess. Well, Ellen, blanket pardons would only work for federal laws, not state. High Priestess, Ace of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, House of Norman, for spouses and dependents, yes. For civilians, not so much. I don't think the DOD would touch that with a 10-foot pole. But what if the commander-in-chief made a decision? I'm not saying it's oh yeah, this is what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Also saying bases are federal land. Remember, the U.S. Air Force passed that law to help transgender kids, and bless them for it. So Sarah says that opens a DOD up to a ton of liability, I think. Only if they decide it will. I don't know. And if you think about it, the military there's a lot of stuff in place to protect them. Becca says that's up to each individual agency. Fair enough. Well, like I said, just throwing some ideas out there. All right, that's going to do it for me for today, but I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to be on every day. I'm on 365 days of the year. I will be on tomorrow and the day after. Even on my staycation, I'll be here. I've got some things set up. I don't want to go on. It doesn't feel right to go on staycation tomorrow. I'll be doing my live streams. I won't be doing for the rest of the day. I'll just be trying to, do some stuff around here. I've been meaning to try to get some rest. But I had this whole thing planned with like vacation covers and vacation stuff and silly sunglasses and all of that. It just doesn't seem like the time to be doing that. Do a little sweetness. Oh, he's a good boy. Why are you upset? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oi, get what are you doing? What? Why are you upset? Why are you trying? Okay, seriously. All right, you're really okay. I was upset, but I'm not that upset. Move it. That was weird. A staycation with kitties. Yes, Kathy. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Becca from House of Lenormand. Do follow House of Lenormand. Oh, why not? Thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to get through it. All right? And this is not forever. You're not alone. You're not alone. We're in this together. And there are good days ahead. It's just going to be it's just going to be gnarly for a while. All right? Hang in there. And, everybody's saying thanks to Johnny. Anyway. All right. Hang in there. I'll be back tomorrow. At 4 o'clock, I'll be over on 4 o'clock Chicago time, Central Time. I'll be over on the Book Art Media channel and doing creative sprints. And other than that, I'll be right back here tomorrow. So do try to get some rest today, too. And hang in there. All right? Take care. Big hug. Big hug, okay? Hang in there. Do something fun today. Listen to a comedy bit on YouTube or cuddle with a pet or something good. All right? Take care.